Jesus Christ, you people suck.
Wow.
Wolverine wanted to be just...
Back in the days when we played video games, it was hardcore for the nerdy and lazy. Now things have changed and all our video games are also for the casual and lady.
But that's okay, you know the score. We told you a million times before. Playing consoles, not just games, is in the past. And every week you listen to the best damn internet radio crew. It's the N4G podcast. It's the N4G podcast.
Alright, it's that time! Another week of N4G Radio. This is our Game of the Year 2022, which, before the show, I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, it feels old to be talking about Game of the Year. Because everybody does it in fucking November and December.
Right. It was still
And
a
they're
whole
doing it
bunch of
wrong.
stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like there were games that came out in December that are good. What is wrong with y'all people? But anyway, I have everybody on the show. We got Anthony.
I'm here, yes.
We got Jay.
Moderna.
We got Drew.
I am here.
Then we got Turds.
What up, y'all?
And the Wombat too.
Yes, sir.
And we got a whole shitload of games to talk about. Basically, the way this works, if you've never heard one of these shows before, is everybody has a list of their top games of the year, usually 10, some honorable mentions, and then if you feel the need, tell us about those disappointments.
Oh, I got a couple.
Yeah, me too.
This year was not built for Anthony. 2022 was just not Anthony year.
You could tell that because I also checked your stats for Overwatch last night, and you've already played 5 days worth of that game.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Holy crap.
Dude, we all have.
Oh, but
Yeah,
let's...
I mean, if Overwatch 2 is making my list,
it's not a good
Go ahead.
year for you. Is that...
no.
All right, let's get this bitch kicked off. And Anthony, I'll start with you. We'll go there.
All right. Okay, fuck it. I'll start with disappointments. Actually, no. I'll start with the honorable mentions. I didn't play the Atari collection, so that's not in my honorable mentions. But Cowabunga collection is. I just don't feel right. Putting it specifically the TMNT collection because it's not as in depth as the Atari collection apparently is. I've seen video of it. But the TMNT Cowabunga collection, those games were already great. It's just they put it in a really nice wrapper and made sure the emulation's great. And I mean, I love those games. Hyperstone Heist getting love makes me very happy. So that's on my honorable mentions because I just don't feel right putting like a re-release in my top 10 unless there was like a lot of work done in changing the game. The other honorable mention is Nobody Saves the World, which is Drinkbox's latest game. I didn't hear a lot of people talk about that game. I love it.
No, I played it.
It's a sort of Zelda / roguelike, but you change form because you're kind of this formless being, and every form has different powers. And I kind of love how it wants you to play each form and get better with each character, essentially. Really, really brilliant idea. I love the art style. I mean, Drinkbox is known for quality, so it's not a surprise, but I just didn't spend enough time with it to make my list. I actually had it on my list and just took it off a couple minutes ago. Disappointments. Oh, God. I'm going to start with Saints Row. I didn't play Saints Row. That's how you know it's a disappointment.
Oh, no, if you played it, it's a disappointment, too.
Yeah, I
don't even
love...
have a disappointment list, and I'm disappointed, and I did play it. It's disappointing.
I love Saints Row. I like the first game. I love the second game. The third game was good, but was kind of showing that it was losing the plot, and 4 kind of just showed that. Then there was Agents of Mayhem that no one talks about, including Volition. And so they were going to reset, and it sounded like they were going back to the tone of Saints Row 2, and oh my good lord, everything I've ever seen about that game makes me want to play it less. I don't know how to say this, but that series is dead, and Volition is probably dead with it.
Well, they got
That-
sucked into Gearbox.
Yeah, Gearbox's sense of humor. I mean, I could see them trying one more time with Saints Row, and I don't have any interest in playing Borderlands Saints Row, essentially. Made in Abyss is a kind of a weird one for me in disappointments. I see where the good game is in there, but they make you do so much bullshit that I actually stopped playing it for review and just said, this is not worth my time. I hated going back to that game. I was irritated by the fact that, like, on paper and in the brief moments that they show you during the first part of that game, there's a real good, interesting idea there, and then they make you play not the full story, just part of the story of the first season of the anime, before allowing you to play the real game, and it is so rough and unfun and terrible that, I would not recommend that game to anybody.
Anthony, I will say, like, you haven't seen the show or anything, right?
No, the show, listen, if it did anything, it sold me on the show.
Yeah, show's fantastic. You can ignore the game, but I just don't want people to be turned off from the actual, like, media where it's from, right?
Yeah,
a lot
read
of
it, watch it.
Yeah.
My
Yeah,
issue is
it's
not
really
the
good.
plot. The issue is that when you watch an anime, they'll make cuts, right, to show you, oh, this person's now entered the upside down forest area of the abyss. Okay, cool. In a game, they make you go through that, and it's not fun. It's menial. You literally just walking from one end to the other. You have to keep stopping because they've made it a mechanic that when you go up in elevation, your character gets sick. Smart move. Really interesting for a survival game, but they refuse to let you play that survival game in servitude of the plot. Now, the other thing that bothered me was, like, what's more interesting? Watching an anime where they've, or a cartoon or fuck a movie, whatever, where they've detailed the character's whole movements, or watching two 3D models on the left and right side of the screen talk at each other. It just, there was a lot of problems with the adaptation of the plot, when reality is playing as a character that you create in the same world is far more interesting, and that's the second half of the game that they lock behind, like, 5 or 6 hours of bullshit. Bad. Somerville. Hey, Somerville came out. Boy, that was a disappointment. Just read my review. I'm not going to go into too much details, but on a technical level, it sucks, and I still don't know what happened in it. This one's not as brutal as the last couple, but I think it was just I don't know if I almost want to replay the first one. Horizon Forbidden West. I love the first Horizon game. I wanted more of the science fiction aspects, and Forbidden West, like, doubles down on that, and I loved those sections. But playing the game wasn't fun. I just didn't have the same enjoyment. I don't know if, like, there was this weird difficulty spike in this game. I feel like there was. It didn't feel fun to kill the dinosaurs anymore. And I was like, this is very odd, because I enjoyed this aspect of the first game. And no matter how much I leveled up, it felt like I was always significantly behind. And it's just a weird thing where you go, oh man, is this game moving past me? And I was talking about Doom Eternal last night with Ken. It feels like the Doom Eternal of Horizon Zero Dawn's Doom. Like, I'm sure there's a specific audience that loves this. I am not that audience, and it's moving past me, and that's okay. It's a disappointment on a personal level. I don't think this game is bad at all. I would still probably give it at least a 7, even with my disappointments. But strictly on a personal level, that's where I kind of lie with that game. And I'm just gonna say it now: the science fiction shit in that one is fucking brilliant. So yeah, really torn on that. Last disappointment, first one on the list, Overwatch 2. Yeah, I've played
Yeah.
too many days of this game now.
You know what the most
But-
amazing thing to me is you didn't play the first game. This game is
heard it-
even more disappointing if you played the original.
Yeah, but I've heard
You
about
were
it. We've
correct.
Ken, we've all heard about it.
No,
from
I
you.
understand that, but actually being like invested in it and playing it as much as I have, and I know Drew has, and everybody else has, like this second game is so disappointing
But I mean,
because of that.
even on a base level.
Facts.
So like I did not play the first game, right? So let's remove that scenario altogether. That like I don't have any idea of what the first game was. Matchmaking in this game is bad. It is. It's not even like. Yes, it's a little skewed when we all play together, but it's bad when I'm by myself. It is rolled or get rolled, and then you will have the occasional match where it is a team that is. It could go either way, and I appreciate those battles more. Those are more fun. More disappointing if you lose, but like well earned by the other team. That's the first problem. The monetization is terrible, and there's just all these things that like if this was a brand new game, I could maybe excuse, but this is built off the infrastructure of a previous title. Whether I played that previous title is irrelevant when there's so many issues that you should have had solved by now. Like, I don't know, Roadhog. There's like, what the fuck is going on behind the scenes? And that's all I have to keep kind of asking is like, there's these weird things where I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, why is it like the moment to moment gameplay is fun? Everything surrounding that is just fucking awful. And I just don't get it. Like the PvE mode isn't out yet. They promised that with the launch of 2, and boy, I just don't think that's ever happening.
Doesn't feel like it, especially as like you see
They don't
interesting things
talk about
in you see interesting things in these events that they're doing that weren't in the original, but they're still super disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now there's a big event with gods and monsters from Greek mythology, and like that's neat. The skins are $20 each. Get fucked.
And the skin you earn for finishing it is a skin from the original game.
The Overwatch 1. Yeah.
And my irritation comes not from the fact that they're like it's a $20 skin. There's no way to earn. Like, you could earn enough credits, but it's so fucking slow. You don't earn the next season pass by playing the previous season pass. Like, you can't earn enough coins in this fucking game to get anything. It's pitiful. It's just disappointing. It's like it went free to play and just tried to go for the biggest whale catch right out of the gate. Instead of like making it so it feels like, oh yeah, well, I'll drop a little money into this. It's like everything's wrong about Overwatch 2. That being said, I play it with my friends. And again, the moment-to-moment stuff is fun. It's a colorful world. I can't deny it a place on this list because it is something I started playing this year. And I've played a lot of it. But I'm still going to be disappointed heavily by it. So on to number 9, which is also somewhat of a disappointment because I didn't play a lot of games this year that I enjoyed, clearly. But it's a disappointment because there aren't people playing it. And that's Kirby's Dream Buffet. I actually had a lot of fun with it. It's a great racing game with a little bit of party elements. But, when the online player base isn't there, the game kind of suffers for it, which is why I gave it a 6.5. But there is a single-player mode. I enjoyed it a lot. It's probably one of the best Kirby spin-offs I've played in a long time. And, I love it. All right, here's number 8. I threw it on right before the show. It's Vampire Survivors. Yay. Okay, next one. I'm not going into detail. Someone else will. Rogue Legacy 2 is number 7.
Nice.
I forgot that came out this year. That's crazy.
That's a great game.
It's more Rogue
Fantastic.
Legacy, and like you ain't. Sorry, roguelikes, but like you ain't beating it. It's
No, it
the
hasn't
shit.
been topped yet.
It's
No.
amazing how I expected just kind of more of the same, and the new mechanics in the game are actually so much fun, and I love the new areas, because the first game was kind of boring. Like I remember people kind of criticizing the fact that this wasn't pixel art, and I was one of those people. But man, Rogue Legacy 2 looks so much better than the first game. I love it. Everything's perfect. The little bounce on the lights that you get. There's so much to do in this game. And I love all the characters that you meet along the way.
Real quick, is this the one where you like? Is the roguelite where you die and you come back as your ancestor, but you get different
Your
traits
heir,
and stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
your heir, yeah.
I'm meaning to check that one out. I still haven't. I'm gonna have to.
Oh man,
have to
it's
bump it up.
so good.
Have you played the first one?
No.
Play the first one. The first one is worth playing.
Okay.
The second one makes a lot of changes, and new classes and everything. So if you were to play it 2 first and then 1, you're gonna be like, well, where's this class? It's not there.
Gotcha.
1 is great though, and I finished that game entirely, built the whole castle and everything. So it's, man, Rogue Legacy and Rogue Legacy 2 are fantastic. Just play both of them. I mean, I'm glad the team went back to that after Full Metal Furies.
Oh, that
kind
game
of
was
failed.
not good.
Yeah. So I'm glad that they were able to make another game, and it's as good as this. Number 6. This is the remake that added to the original Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. There's not a
say Last of Us. Okay.
Right, like he's gonna say Last of Us.
Last of Us, and ain't never making this list. I don't know what I can say about Stanley Parable that isn't kind of hasn't been said, or that wouldn't spoil everything. But this is the definitive walking simulator, and I don't think I laughed harder at a video game this year. The fact that the new stuff is presented in the way it is, I just love that there's just a door and there's just this disappointment from the narrator. It's great. Number 5, I'm going to defend this game because I know some people would probably say it's disappointment, but Sonic Frontiers. I saw it on some of the worst games of the year list. I don't know what the fuck else you're playing, but far from it.
Sonic is. I feel like Sonic is a meme at this point where people want to hate it. This game is not bad. It's not a bad game. It's not a bad game, and I was probably more critical than the most Sonic fans are, which I consider myself to be one. And I feel like it was more fair than some of the people that do not like Sonic at all that reviewed it. I did not play the Switch port. I played the Xbox One version, but it's a lot of fun. It's Sonic going in the right direction, which is clearly open world. Honestly, it was all growing pains to me, the faults. And I'm hoping that they figure out how to solve those problems. Maybe collect a little less shit in the open world. But if you're going to criticize Sonic, I would say almost every open world game falls into that sort of problem of having to collect a bunch of shit. So if you want to play a good Sonic game, this is the best one in years outside of Sonic Mania. I loved it. Great music too. I really think the soundtrack was perfect. Very different for a Sonic game. Number 4 is High on Life. I'm sure Ken will have more to say about this. I finished that game. I expected to be irritated and just hear Justin Roiland, "Fan for a little bit, keep talking, keep talking, keep bothering you." But they use that more for annoying, like making characters annoying, and the other characters acknowledging that somebody following you around is annoying. There are moments where I go, okay, this is that sense of humor, and you're driving home the point, but it's not funny. Like when Kenny, the main gun that's voiced by Justin Roiland, starts talking to you about stuff and keeps going on, I was sort of checking out. But when the AI in your pseudo starts doing it, I was laughing. It threw everything at the wall humor wise.
and it failed times. But what really got me was that there was actually a lot of heart at the end of the story. Like, it really shifts at some point where, yeah, it's still funny, but like there's far bigger things happening, and I just like Metroid sort of games, and this is the closest thing I've had to Metroid Prime in a while. And I didn't even finish all the little forum posts, but there's so much writing in this game. I was just kind of impressed with all of it. And once you get the gun upgrades, it's a lot more fun to play. My biggest issue early on was I went through the jungle area, and it's just me and the first gun Kenny, and combat was very monotonous. But as you earn the other Gatlians, the combat really steps up its game, and I ended up really enjoying that game. The toilet still bothers me, though. Anybody that knows about the toilet will.
I'm
The
thinking
thing you
about
warp
what the
in?
toilet you're talking about.
You would know. You can warp in a toilet at one point. You have to pay to warp in a toilet, and
Yeah. And it'll change your life. It'll change your life.
Yeah, I saw my friend do that. Yeah.
yeah. So some jokes you just go, oh Jesus. Okay.
Like, and I continued on with that because, like, I was like, I'm not going to do this. But then, like, the voice lines kept, and I was like, no, I got to see where this goes. Like, he keeps like
it goes exactly where it says it's going.
Yeah, it does.
Oh
man,
I'll never be the same person. Number 3, kind of hit me out of nowhere. Phobia Saint Dinf Hotel. I don't know how to pronounce that still. Not really a horror guy in the past, but I guess Resident Evil 2 remake sold me on the concept even more. Phobia is a independent horror game that is clearly inspired by Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Silent Hill more in its puzzles, and Resident Evil in the fact that you are in a hotel and you have to learn the layout by memory of how to get through each floor. Brilliant, just brilliant. What killed me at the end was it saying that it only solved like 33% of the puzzles or something like that. It was extremely low. And I know that I passed some of the puzzles and went, I don't know how to solve this. But then I still don't think I passed that many puzzles, and clearly I did. And now, yeah, the reward is ammo or, other junk. But, like, I had pieces to puzzles that I was just like, I think this goes here, but obviously missing a piece and never found it. And I'm going to replay that game and finish everything. I actually started and then got caught up reviewing something else, I'm sure. But yeah, like, for a independent horror game to come out and really capture the mood and the gameplay like this, it kind of blew me away, because this is the team's first game. I wish there was a little bit more enemy variety, but it wasn't to the point where I was, like, miserable fighting the same enemy. They still posed a threat. I really love Phobia. I think anybody that likes horror, I should say, should try it. I'm sure it goes on sale for super cheap now, because that was at the beginning of the year. Also at the beginning of the year was number 2, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It's a fucking great Kirby game. I really, there's not much else to say about it. Like, goddamn, I love this game. It's clearly built for Anthony type of thing of, like, here's a game that's just happy and fun. And then gets really fucking hard if you want to finish everything, and I appreciate that. And weird. Kirby, this is probably the weirdest Kirby game, and that's saying something, because other Kirby games you have to fight like Eldritch Horrors, but like the one in this game was something. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil it for people, because I think people should still play Kirby in the Forgotten Land. But the change to 3D was great, and I really enjoyed it. And number 1 is Tiny Ken.
That game is so good.
I gave it a 10. It's the only 10 I gave this year. It's perfect. It's a perfect platformer.
Man, I got excited because they announced they updated the game and added stuff to it, and it was just fucking challenge modes. I'm like, God damn it, give me another room. Give me another room.
Yeah, like...
What is that game, Anthony?
So,
can you give me a quick summary?
So, it is a game where you are a person from the future that goes to the past, but you are shrunk down. So you are tiny, and you are talking to bugs. Like, bugs now rule the house. And you're in this little, like, house, like, just a family household. So you go into different rooms, and you use tinykin, which are essentially, like, little one-eyed creatures that are akin to Pikmin, to solve puzzles. And, excuse me, wow. And it's essentially a 3D platformer with no combat. It's just puzzle solving and platforming. But it's more puzzle solving than anything, because the idea is that you're using your tinykin to solve problems. There's little missions in each map for different bugs, and you can earn like nectar to get like once you have enough nectar, you can turn it into a God damn it, Terrence. You can trade in for another bubble that allows you to float longer with jumps. But what's interesting is because you're tiny, you're just going through like normal household appliances. So it's a full 3D platformer that, is just in a house, which I don't think I've done since like Chibi Robo, which is one of my favorite games.
Is it like Pikmin where you control like other small things and then they do stuff for you?
Less involved though. So like you just throw the tinykin. So you throw the tinykin at an object, and the red ones. So there's different types of tinykin, and each of them do something different. And sometimes you have to use the ones that are like an electric power to make a line of power to a device. The red ones carry stuff. Is it the red ones? No, the yellow ones carry stuff, and the red ones explode, I think.
The blue ones connect electricity, I think.
The yellow ones. Oh man, there's a lot.
Like Pikmin.
It's a lot like Pikmin.
Pikmin.
You don't have to steer them as it's not like a real time strategy mixed with.
It's a platformer.
That's the difference between Pikmin. It's a platformer.
And there's nothing more satisfying than holding the right trigger into the.
Oh yeah, there's a type that turns into a ladder, and yeah, you press the trigger and they stack on top of each other to make you a ladder. It was just like pure joy. Every character has interesting writing, and you can like talk to like every NPC in this game, and seeing how the bugs have made like, normal day, like everyday like items into like other things to suit their needs is like just a lot of fun. But the gameplay was so good. Like the platforming felt so great. Like sliding, you get a bar of soap as your like quick travel. So it's like you use the bar of soap as like a surfboard almost, or hoverboard, and you can grind spider webs in this game. And you're using that to quick travel around these little maps. And unlocking the little spider web to like quick travel up to places, it just, everything was fucking perfect for a 3D platformer. Collectathon, I should say. That's a very specific thing. You're like, I just couldn't believe it. Like, why is, first of all, a game that I've barely heard of up until its release that good? And second, like, why aren't more people making stuff like this? All the characters are two-dimensional in a 3D world, so they're always kind of facing you, and they're animated superbly, and, it was a really good story overall. Like, I was kind of touched at the end of it of, like, where it went, because I didn't expect that. I didn't expect anything from this silly game about bugs living in a house after people are gone to be sort of moving. I really hope for more tinykin, because I just love the design of everything. It's a me game, but I mean, I played, like, you can play it on Game Pass, I believe, right? I think it's still on there.
It's on.
It's on there. Yeah.
So, like, my game of the year is on Game Pass. Go play it. It's on everything too. If you like 3D platformers, you need to play this one. It's one of the best especially from Independence.
Yep.
So
I
think it's perfect in everything that it sets out to do, and I think everybody would be like, if you listen to like one recommendation from this, I hope it's tinykin. From my list, anyways.
Yep, it's very good. All right, is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, Drew's begging me to go next, so I'm gonna let him go next.
Yeah, I had to make a phone call after I had to go. So, but yeah, starting off with my, I would say disappointments. Some of this I wasn't necessarily looking forward to. It was just, oh, I played this and this is kind of bad. First being Chocobo GP.
That game's shutting down soon, isn't it?
That game is so bad that it's shutting down. So it looks like those battle passes really didn't work for them.
I think they're making it so you can unlock that stuff just in game now.
Okay, well,
The way they've been wording it is weird. I've looked into it, but
it's
I
Square
don't care
Enix.
enough
You
to
probably
play
got to
it.
buy an NFT or some shit.
Yeah,
yeah, it was a fine racing game. It was a fine Mario Kart clone. Unfortunately, it was just chock full of microtransactions and a lot of grinding. The next one, and Ken, you're going to have to help me out here because I found there was 2 that came out this year, and the one that I think I wrote down is the wrong one. The Pac-Man collection that was released on Game Pass.
Oh God, I don't remember the name of that one, but I know what you're talking about.
It was broken.
The museum, is it Pac-Man Museum? Man, that thing sucks.
Hold on, I'm on my Xbox right now. I'll check.
It's not Pac-Man Museum. That's the one I've wrote down. It's the other one, but I can't remember what it's called.
That thing fucking sucks.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
It was broken. The controls wouldn't work.
It's not Pac-Man Museum Plus where he has the 3D arcade.
It is
that's
the 3D
it.
arcade one.
Yeah, it's Pac-Man Museum Plus.
Yeah, that one's garbage.
That thing is a bad video game.
Yeah, like when your controls don't work properly and you're trying to play a Pac-Man game, you have a bad Pac-Man game. And it's not hard to make a good Pac-Man game.
Clearly, they made a.
How do you mess up controls in Pac-Man? Damn,
it was just unresponsive. It was just unresponsive. Like I wanted to make a turn, and then I just kept going straight. I'm like, I wanted to turn there. Now I'm dead. Wow. It was bad. It was just bad. And then half the time, like. You're supposed to be unlocking stuff. Like you play this many times on this game, you unlock a new game, but then they wouldn't count it. And I'm just like, okay, well, I spent 20 minutes playing this game, and now you don't count that I played it. It was weird. And then the other disappointment, which I didn't have high hopes for anyway, Diablo Immortal.
Oh yeah, that was out there.
Yeah, everybody forgot about that game.
Well, it's on a phone, so I ain't playing it.
I did not forget about it.
It's not just on a phone, boss. You can play it on your PC.
Well, it's got microcosms, so I'm gonna skip it.
Is that what we're calling them now?
I'm bringing back the old Sega CD game, Microcosm. Let's go.
It's bad. Oh man. And what I fear is this is what's to come with Diablo 4.
I hope not.
It breaks my heart, but between Overwatch 2 and the Diablo Immortal, it feels like the signs are there, man.
Yeah.
It feels like it's going to go that way.
The biggest thing that annoyed the hell out of me was that they turned Diablo Immortal into like an MMO where you're walking around the overworld and you have other crusaders walking around killing stuff with you. And I know they're going to have that in Diablo 4. They've already said it. And I don't want that.
But
that sucks.
It's not to the same degree as it is in Immortal. Because they did, I did read it. They did say that they are going to do it, but it's only like in the hub area. So you'll only see people like in town or in the in-game part when you're like fighting world bosses and stuff. Like for the majority of it, it sounds like you could just play it with like you and your friends if you won't see other people. I'm just as skeptical as you. Trust me.
Now why don't you pay $20 for a set of armor?
Well,
boss, they got battle passes in this.
Of course they do.
Their battle passes suck. I'll say it. Their battle passes are the fucking worst. I don't want to see what I'm going to earn in the battle pass outright because guess what? It ruins the joy of unlocking stuff.
And here's the problem. Overwatch 2 is free to play. This game is probably going to be $70.
Yeah.
And you're making me pay an extra $20 on top of that for a season battle pass?
Hell yeah.
To unlock a really cool necromancer skin? No.
Right. Yeah.
No, I'm good. No. I don't. If this is what's to come with Diablo, I don't want anything to do with it. I will continue playing Diablo 2.
You know who can
It's- it
stop
sucks,
all this? Phil Spencer. Phil can save
Yeah,
us.
because when
He
they
can
buy
come swoop in and buy
Activision,
them.
because when he buys Activision Blizzard, they won't put out anything.
Well, probably exactly. Yeah.
Right? They'll just cancel everything and
I
say
mean, that's
stuff's
how
coming.
Xbox works. They buy studios and they're like, you ain't got to make a game. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Anyway, so those are my disappointments.
Notice that there's been two of us, and neither of us said Xbox yet, because at this point it's just expected.
Yeah. It's sad.
I mean, yeah. I mean, a big disappointment is what Xbox delivered this year, which is garbage.
I mean,
As Dust Falls and Pentiment.
I stand by that if they didn't have Game Pass this year, we wouldn't even have talked about Xbox one goddamn time.
No.
True story. Yeah.
That's true. But again, that's why I kind of feel like maybe that was the point of Game Pass. They gave you something shiny. It was like, we're going to have to go into hibernation for a while, so we'll give them this.
Nah, y'all
I
need a
don't know.
motherfucking... Especially when you haven't announced a fucking Game Pass drop in a month.
Well, yeah, and I figured...
I don't know if you know
this
this, Xbox, but I still pay. Like, every month I gotta pay. I don't have to, like, not pay.
Right.
You know, you gotta deliver games. Those gotta come out.
I would throw this in my disappointments, but I'm not going to. I'm just not going to really mention it. Dying Light 2 was actually really
I forgot
disappointing.
that came out this year.
Everybody forgot that game came out.
I mean, I wasn't going to play it anyway, but
I was actually really disappointed in that game. I still gave it like I think a 7. But going from me playing Dying Light 1 and having an absolute ball with that game to playing Dying Light 2 and then not even getting way deep into that game and saying, I don't care to finish this, that's horrible. Dying Light 1 was absolutely fantastic. I think they held themselves back by really pushing the RPG mechanics and then also having that whole, you know, it's not necessarily a spoiler, but you have a timer. You are going to turn into a zombie if you stay in the dark too long. So half the time you're playing that game, you're not having fun because you're having to constantly find light sources. And you're not being... It hinders the exploration in an open world game.
Wait. So it's not just... What does the not having light have to do with turning into a damn zombie?
It's according to the lore, as long as you have ultraviolet light going through you, you can fend off the virus that you are affected with.
But like a very small minority of general lights are ultraviolet lights.
Well, sunlight apparently is one of them. So during the daytime you're okay, but if you go inside of a building and no lights are working and you can't find the ultraviolet light, you have to use like there's like these mushrooms that you can use that give off ultraviolet light.
Sure.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
I mean,
Okay.
all these... I am so tired of this trend of these games ballooning and just being full of so much crap.
Yeah.
According to the lore.
According to the lore, yeah.
I was going to ask. I was
lore.
like, he must not have played the first one because they used the UV lights, like you set them up as traps.
Yeah,
and
but
stuff
the
in
UV
first one,
lights,
it wasn't a cure.
Yeah, the UV lights in the first game keep away the strong zombies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a cure. I don't know why they. Like, what
And there's less zombies out during the day.
Yeah.
Because they're weaker during the day. That was the concept.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
I like
fuck
the
this
first
game is smoking. I'll end up playing it at some point, I am sure, when it's
Dude.
dirt cheap.
When
But
it hits Game Pass, I'll play it then.
They fucking ruined the nighttime by making the chase sequences like QuickTime events. I'm like, what the
Yeah,
no,
hell?
they
love
didn't.
the-
Sorry,
Yeah.
hold on,
They
hold on,
did.
hold on.
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
Mhm.
That's messed
Oh,
up.
no.
That was the best
Oh.
part about the nighttime of the first one.
That was
like,
the only
oh my
scary
God.
part in the entire game, dude.
Yeah.
Oh no, they ruined the whole game.
Well, now you're just scared of night completely because you'll die in the night just by
Right.
standing there.
This is
Man.
what happens when a game sits in development hell, because this was supposed to be out, I think, like a year or two ago,
Yeah,
and they
there
just
was-
kept putting out content for the first Dying Light, and then I think a bunch of people left that studio
They lost
And
their
there's,
head
like-
writer, and they lost a bunch of the developers. Yeah.
And then there was like we're making
wow.
a movie off of Dying Light, and you're like, why would you do that?
The
Yeah.
thing is like, does anybody know that Rosario Dawson is in that game?
No.
I
Her
did not know.
her likeness and her voice is in that game, but they did not even promote that whatsoever. In fact, I don't even think she did.
She's probably like,
Wow.
nah, I played this game and it's shit. I don't want to be.
She's like
associated."
she's like one of the main characters you run into probably about 6 hours into the game, and she's there throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, they must not
I
have said
am
that at
dumbfounded.
all. I did not know she was involved at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't. Wow. Yeah, okay.
because I was surprised. I was like, Rosario Dawson's in this? Okay. And she's like a main character. And I remember, I think I texted Ken, and Ken was like, yeah, she's in it. I was like, what? How
Yeah, she's in it,
did they
that's
not
fine.
promote that? You
Nah,
know?
we don't give a fuck.
Okay. Anyway, so going on to my honorable mentions here. I got a decent amount stuff that I feel like, hey, you should probably play this. It's just not my top 10. The first one being Circus Electrique. I don't think anybody played this game except for me. I played it for review. That is a really, really good Darkest Dungeon clone.
Oh, I played it because of you. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
good.
It's a really good one. It's got this whole circus motif where all your party members are like strongmen and clowns, and you're trying to run this circus while London's like turning into a madhouse. It's actually really cool. Infernax.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Glad
Infernax.
somebody else has Infernax.
It's really good. It's hard as balls.
It's so good.
It is.
It's
It
so
is really good. It is. It is the closest thing I can say gets to the feeling I felt when I played Shovel Knight. It's a tight combat platformer. Ultra
With,
violent.
A million different branching paths and different
Yeah.
things that you can do, and secret unlockable characters, and
No,
Yeah.
that game is sweet. It's on Game Pass too.
It
if
even
you
has
wanna
the
check it out.
Konami code in it.
it does. It also has a character that is basically like a character out of Metal Slug with a gun and everything.
Yep. Awesome.
That you can unlock. Yeah, it's the game is amazing. I'll
Yeah.
talk more about it shortly.
Another one. It's something that I played a lot and then I dropped off of, and a lot of people did. Multiverses. I think Multiverses was a really good fighting game that got me back into it for a while there, but I have dropped off of it. I have not played it in a while. The last character they had dropped when I was playing it was Gizmo.
I mean, they haven't really dropped a whole lot more since then.
Isn't Black Adam in it now?
I mean,
Isn't
sure.
Stripe in it now?
Yeah, and Marvin the Martian was the last one.
I didn't even see them tweet about Marvin the Martian. I
didn't either.
I
tell us
didn't
anything.
either. I randomly went because it actually is on my honorable mention list too. I fell off as well, but yeah, I went in there the other day and I was like, "Oh shoot, Marvin, that's my guy. He was fun to play."
Man, that game is another game that, like, how you need to hire some UX designers because your main menu is fucking trash.
Oh my god,
It
it's
is.
bad.
It's,
Yeah, it's still
bad.
bad.
It's bad.
And they've opened the store now too. If you haven't been in there, like the shop or whatever is open, so they have like a whole bunch of skins and different stuff that you can
I still
pay real money for.
I still hate Bungie for the fact that they normalized the fucking mouse cursor menu system.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Don't ever use
God.
that. Fucking Dying Light uses that to go back
Yeah.
to Dying Light.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Yes, hate
Assassin's Creed started using it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed started using it. Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
the fuck out of here with that menu system. That shit is
Yeah, I hate it.
terrible.
Yeah, it is. It's really bad.
If we weren't moving the cursor over like blocks, maybe I could understand a mouse cursor, but like literally everything's lined up in even rows, and they're like, yeah, no, how about you move a cursor over to it? Ugh.
No. Never.
Yeah, no, it's just slow and cumbersome. I've never played anything that makes it better.
No, never. It's never better. Ugh.
No. Nobody Saves the World was in my honorable mentions. Really liked what I played of that. Didn't play enough of it is the issue. And I think I'm looking at my list here. Yeah, Yeah, the last honorable mention, and it was I debated putting it on my top 10, but I said no. The Chant.
Mm.
The Chant is what I call the little horror game that could. It's really, really good, but there is some things holding it back. But if you are a fan of survival horror games, and I wouldn't even say it's a survival horror game. It is just kind of a horror game. If you're a fan of those, you need to check this game out. It does a lot of really cool stuff that you see in other horror games, but they combine a bunch of stuff together. It's really well acted, with the exception of one person. And it really has a great tone to it. Like it does a really good job with the atmosphere. The location where you're at's really cool. I highly suggest it to people. It didn't make my top 10 because there's other things on my top 10 that I liked more. And then going into my top 10, number 10, and I don't know if I can even put this on here because I don't know if it's fully out yet. Proteus.
Proteus is 1.0.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
1.0?
out, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Proteus is the only thing I can say is that game is awesome. That game is old school Doom. Like you want to feel like here's a machine gun, just shoot stuff. And I sat there and said, "This is absolutely awesome. It's exactly what I wanted at that moment, which was turn my brain off and machine gun stuff."
I think they call those games boomer shooters, right?
Boomer
there's
shooters.
a lot of those
Yeah.
boomer shooters. Fucking New
Yeah.
Blood get off their ass and get Dusk on the Xbox. If you've never played Dusk, oh, it's so good.
Man, now you say Dusk. That was another game that I wanted to get to. Was the his submarine game. Fuck. This year was a lot of games I wanted to get to as well, and didn't have time because I was playing shit like Made in Abyss.
Hey man, you took that for a review. Nobody pushed that on you.
No. I didn't take that for a review. I asked for it.
Yeah,
for
he
a
actually,
review. It's
like,
even
we didn't
worse.
even get it. He asked me
You
to
get
get
what
it.
you deserve, bro.
Anyway, so crap, I just lost my list here.
Well, how'd you lose
So-
your list?
Proteus.
Because I've been getting phone calls since this
Oh.
podcast began, and
Like,
I'm
you got that
trying
shit
to.
written on a napkin? You drop it under the table or something?
No, it's on my phone. All right, number 8, High on Life. I liked what I played of it, but I hadn't played enough of it. I got probably about 4 hours into that game, and then just kind of stopped.
You're like halfway done then.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
If
High
you-
on Life is
if
like
you-
8 hours, bro.
If you can finish it, good luck.
Oh, listen to this motherfucker. Get the fuck out of here.
Number 9 or number 8, Hard Space Shipbreaker.
You just did number 8. Number 8 was the thing, wasn't it?
No, 10 was Proteus. Number 8 was High on Life.
Dude, what happened
I
to
think 9
9?
was Proteus.
No,
That's why he keeps
Okay.
forgetting 9.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, just keep.
What the fuck did 9 do to you? For real?
Number 8 is High. God, now you screwing me up. Number 8 is Hard Space Shipbreaker.
Okay.
Okay.
I fell in love with this game. It's so strange. This game is you're tearing apart old derelict spaceships while floating in space, and you throw certain ones into an incinerator, certain ones into a compactor. And it has this awesome futuristic, like Mississippi Delta blues soundtrack. It's awesome. I absolutely love this game. It's not going to be for everybody. It is definitely one of those weird, not real simulations where, you are basically, spacewalking. You have to monitor how much oxygen you have left, all that kind of stuff. But it is one of those games where I'm just like, all right, let's break down the ship and see how far I can make it. It's actually really good. Number 7, Overwatch 2. It's not going to be my game of the year. I played a lot of this game. I will continue to play a lot of this game. But there are things. You took a game that was damn near perfect in Overwatch 1 and somehow screwed it up. Using the exact same interface.
I was talking to my wife about this last night. I was like, how do you take a game and at every change you made, made it worse. Like, how?
Because they're trying to emulate Apex. Like the majority of the changes that they've done, they've taken from what EA is doing with Apex, and they chasing that money. Like I don't.
But I don't understand that
it's
because
sad.
they were there before Apex and
Right.
they had their own niche and people just wanted that improved. They didn't want it changed.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
fucking game,
There's
man.
with issues like, with characters being unbalanced, that can be fixed. But I feel like the thing that's wrapped around that game is the route that they're going, and that one's going to be harder to fix if they want to fix it, is the issue. I mean, the mere fact that that when we play together, half the time my name is nobody else's. Like it's a different name that nobody's even heard of.
Yes.
Or we can't invite each other to our games. It's just like, oh, I can't invite him.
Yeah, we have to go down the list. All right, can you check it? Oh, you can't do it. Can you check it? All right, we got to set a whole new party, and then it's so messed up.
Yeah, it's horrible. There's just so many things that are wrong with that game. If the moment-to-moment gameplay of that was not solid, I wouldn't be playing this game.
I mean, it's the only reason that I do play it is because when it's good, it's fucking sublime.
It is. I will give Blizzard that. They have somehow at one point they were the king of multiple genres. They were the king of the MMO. They were the king of the MOBA, in my opinion. They were the king of the first-person shooter. They were the king of the real-time strategy game.
Boy, those are dead, so that don't matter no more.
I mean, yeah, none of it really matters anymore. I mean, their MOBA is dead now. They've officially said we are no longer going to be updating this thing.
Which is sad because theirs is the best one. Like you
I
said, so good.
adored Heroes of the Storm.
Yep, me too. So good.
Anyway, enough of that. Number 6, Tunic.
Ah, yeah, somebody else got the Tunic.
That's right. Tunic is fantastic. Tunic is one of the weirdest, like, it's almost like the game itself is a puzzle.
That instruction manual is the greatest thing, like, that you've added to a game in so long. Like, I loved filling that thing out.
It's so good. Just learning about the instruction manual, and it's not in a language that you can read. You just have to go by the pictures. But then when you get another page of it, it completely opens up a whole, like, I didn't even know I could do this. It's crazy. That game is insane, and it's really, really good. It's on Game Pass. If you like any kind of old school Zelda game, you need to play this.
It's also out on everything else now, I think. I think it's on PlayStation and Switch now, too.
It is.
That game is so good.
Mm-hmm. Number 5, I don't think he's going to be on anybody else's list. I really liked it. The Quarry.
I did not play it. I need to, but I did not get to play it.
Dude, I did not like this game very much compared to some of the other Dark Pictures stuff.
Oh no, man, no. This is leaps and bounds better than some of the Dark Picture games.
I preferred the House of Ashes over this one. For me, the Quarry was like I knew where they were going with some of the ideas, and obviously is longer than the Dark Pictures one, so it has more ideas to develop. But I've had situations in that game where it bugged out to the point where I would make a choice, and then the character would do the exact opposite of the choice that I made, and then watch them die. It's like I'm just so confused at the choices that I make not having any impact on what's happening on the screen. And the situations that they pick is like the scenario is amazing with the whole, I'm not going to spoil anything, but
don't say anything.
yeah. I'm not, but the situation is fantastic. But I feel like it was a missed opportunity in a lot of things they could do. Until Dawn's still the best game they've made, and I wanted the Quarry to be the one up,
So
how I saw it. Yeah.
My wife and I played this together because she loved Until Dawn. She really liked this experience too, and I could see like going back to Until Dawn is rough because it's just an older game now. Some of the things that I really enjoyed about the Quarry is the mere fact that every single character, I'm talking characters that you play as, characters that you don't play as, can be saved. Every character in this game, whether it be a good guy, bad guy, whatever, can live. And I think that's the ultimate puzzle, is trying to figure out how can you get everybody to survive. Now, I did have an issue where I was totally, it said I missed a shot, like it was a quick time event where I had to shoot something, and it totally said I missed it. And I'm like, that's a lie. I had my reticle on it, so it might have glitched out there. But for the most part, I didn't have any major glitches or anything like that. And when you compare this game to like the Dark Pictures games, because I played one of them, I played The Devil in Me. The quality is just so much better in this game than it is in the Dark Picture game. Just the mere fact that the game doesn't sit there and try to think of what your decision is. Like the Dark Picture games, like you have these weird like 2-second scenes of like, I don't even know what the hell I'm looking at, but it's obviously the game's thinking on what to show you next. Like I didn't experience that in the Quarry. I don't know. I really liked the whole the planning between me and my wife, sitting there saying, okay, well, if we want to save this person, we got to keep in mind not to do this. And they basically, you learn the mechanics of the story. Be like, okay, I know what happened to this person. That person can be saved as long as I don't do this and make sure I don't do this. And then you try to plan it out that way. But then there's monkey wrenches that are thrown into the mix. So I personally enjoyed it. Jay, I understand if you didn't.
No, I completely understand. I think your points are valid and everything. But for me, it's like I ran into too many bugs, and then I didn't really particularly like most of the characters either for the cast. And the last thing I think, as a series, not just to this game, is that I want them to do a better job of making replaying certain segments better. Because these games are all about replaying the game in order to make better choices or different choices to see the outcomes and everything, right? But this series as a whole does such a poor job of giving you that opportunity to go back to certain moments and redo certain things, because everything is kind of like a butterfly thing. When the first choice that you made might impact something at the middle of the game, so if you go back to the middle of the game, then it kind of implies that you still did the first thing, right? So it's like it's a very difficult puzzle to kind of put together, but they got to do something to make it so that the replayability experience is more interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah. Maybe if they did something kind of like AI of the Insomnium Files did.
Yeah. Kind of like that, but it's going to have to be more elaborate, honestly, because of the choices that you make.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. Mm-hmm. Number 4. So, one of these games shows up in every one of my top 10 list. A power washing simulator.
That's because it's a fucking great game.
That's a great game.
It is.
Yes.
It is. I spent many hours washing stuff, and I don't regret it.
Dude, I think I got 50 hours in that game.
Yeah, it's so good. It is. It's so good. Number 3, Rogue Legacy 2. Absolutely fantastic game. I think it was fantastic. It improves so much on the first game while still feeling very similar, and I think that's the fine balance that you need. You know, you add a whole bunch of stuff. You add way more exploration in this game. One of the things is, you know, like with a Rogue game, you're going to lose everything that you have and start back over from the beginning. But one of the things that they've always pushed, I know, Jay, you said it when you're playing like a Souls game, is that the most important thing you earn from playing a Souls game is the experience, the knowledge. Okay, I can't do this anymore, or I can do this. Or I know that this door is somewhere, I can find it. They do that in Rogue Legacy. Yep. With like, you know, you're learning more about this location that you're in currently, and you get hints by talking to these ghosts and stuff like that. It's so well done. It's so well done. And I can't suggest it enough. It is one of the best games of the year.
Yeah, excellent game.
Number 2. Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, there it is.
I love this game.
I know what his number 1
So
is
good.
now. Ha
Everybody knows what my number 1 is now. I've been craving a game in this series since the Super Nintendo. And I finally got it. You do not understand me being the fan of this series since I was a child and saying, man, that Super Nintendo game is great. I can't wait to play the next one. And 20 years passes, and they make garbage games in this series, we finally get the next successor to Turtles in Time. Shredder's Revenge is my game of the year. Shredder's Revenge is one of the best games I've played in years.
It's very, very good.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
It. Do I say it? Do I say it? I do say it. It surpasses Turtles in Time.
Ooh.
Have you played Turtles in Time recently? Did you buy the Cowabunga collection?
I have not bought the Cowabunga collection.
Oh man, you get what, 2 versions of Turtles in Time on there? Oh, it's
Yeah.
so good.
So yeah, I think this game surpasses Turtles in Time for me. Turtles in Time has all the nostalgia in the world, but I think mechanically this game plays a lot better than Turtles in Time.
Drew, you wanna do a co-op with me later? I still haven't beaten this game.
We
You still haven't beaten
played a
Shredder's
bunch of
Revenge?
it.
No,
Yeah,
no,
me and Ken
I
played
have it
together.
installed.
Yeah, we
but,
played a bunch
I
of
haven't
it.
played. Anyone want to join in?
We
let's
talked
play.
about doing a 6-person run of that game, right? At some
Yeah,
point.
we should do that at some point.
We
Let's
did,
do it.
and we should.
I haven't beat it yet. I just played the first stage only.
Oh my god!
Oh my
dude.
God, dude.
It's so good.
I know. All right, get me into it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
No. That game is twice as long as Turtles in Time, and you would think you'd get burned out, but you don't. Because there's so many references. There's so many, like, if you're a Turtles fan, like, there's so many things in there that they're just like, hey, you remember this? Holy crap, I hadn't thought about that character in years. And they give you the challenges. Now, some of the challenges are bullshit, like beat the level without getting hit. I mean, come on, I'm never going to get that done. That's damn near impossible. But, I mean, they give you these challenges to work for. They give you all these different special abilities. And the art style of it, the fucking music is amazing in it. Everything about that game is pure nostalgia. It is a love letter to the old Konami beat 'em ups. And I absolutely adore it. It is one of the best games I've played this year. Guaranteed.
All right.
Nice.
Okay,
So
now I'm going to make my phone call.
All right, you have fun. I'm gonna move on to Jay.
All right. So I had this thing this year when I was
Hold
trying
on, Jay.
to.
I have to pull out a pen and paper to write down all the shit you recommend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I'm happy to report that I have a lot of stuff on here that no one has talked about yet. Maybe someone will bring it up later, but I doubt that some of these will be on anyone else's list. So feel free to put them in. So I'm gonna start with the quick disappointment. I'm not gonna beat this whole Overwatch 2 horse anymore, but I'll just say that I played it, I uninstalled it. I may revisit it when the PvE stuff drops, but enough said about that. The other one, which I kind of came out of left field, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I don't think the game is bad. I think it's actually good. But the expectations that was built upon it were too high for me. And then the execution, the changes that they made, kind of made the experience worse for me in a lot of ways. And that's Tactics Ogre Reborn. So this is a Tactics Ogre game that's been basically remade for the second time, because it was remade second time for the PSP, and I think it was originally on like the Super Nintendo or something like that. I'm not sure what the original version was. But the problem that I had with this game is that they decided to inflate the health pools of the enemies and allies alike to like double, sometimes triple the amount that it was normally, which made the battles last a lot longer. You could be a lot more tactical in the choices that you make because no one in your party is getting one shot because they're slightly out of position, which is good to some degree, but you have to realize is that the battles were balanced with the amount of battles that you encounter with the amount of health pools and how long it takes to get through a battle. But when you double, triple the HP, then you're making the battles also last double, triple the amount. But the battle amount and the amount of encounters that you have to go through are still the same as it was balanced towards when they had the original amount. So everything felt like it just dragged like crazy. And because it's an older game, a lot of the mechanics were a lot more straightforward and simple, which isn't bad at all. But I've just been playing a lot of crazy SRPGs over the years. So I'm expecting a little bit more fast paced, a little bit more, I guess crazier mechanics and stuff like that involved, and this didn't deliver on that, so it kind of disappointed me. I was hoping that this was going to be like one of the contenders for my game of the year, with how much everyone has built up this game as a classic and everything, but it just didn't live up to the hype, unfortunately. Getting to my honorable mentions, Power Wash Simulator. Just put on like your favorite podcast or something like that. Just zone out, play this game for a bit. It's like a Zen experience.
How much
It's
time
lovely.
how much time do you spend listening to
I turn the sound down a little bit when I'm like listening to other stuff, but I always leave it a little bit on. Otherwise, you don't get the full effect.
I need the
One other
ding.
thing I'll just quickly add on to the podcast listening experience. Power Wash Simulator, also one of the most perfect games for Xbox Cloud gaming. If you guys do Xbox Cloud gaming on your mobile device,
Good call.
it works perfectly with that. Especially if you have I have a Backbone controller and it works perfectly. So it's not super demanding. It works very well.
There's two things I will add to that. So
Yeah.
I can't think about Power Washing Simulator, and Anthony's gonna laugh. I can't think about Power Washing Simulator without thinking about Chris Chan, because I was watching that documentary while playing Power Washing Simulator.
No, Drew, no.
And then on top of that, I did play with the sound sometimes, as my wife would constantly walk in saying, "What is that sound?"
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I got that. I got
Yeah,
that constantly. Like
Yeah.
she's like, "What is that annoying sound?" I'm like, "Nothing."
It's just
Yeah. But see, I got to be able to hear the ding. The ding is so satisfying.
Yes.
You gotta hear the
Something-
ding.
You got to hear the
It
ding.
is satisfying. Yeah.
You got to hear the ding. You got to feel the vibration on your controller too if you're playing. at
Yeah,
home.
that's
Ah.
important.
Yeah, the haptic feedback, it really sells that game. But there's not that many games these days where you can kind of just play and just relax and do other things while you're playing, and I think that was kind of perfect for that. And another one on my honorable mention is Triangle Strategy. I think this is one of the games that I more enjoy than Tactics Ogre Reborn, not because I think the combat is a little bit more involved and faster paced, but also because of the narrative choices that you make, with how you have to convince your allies to kind of go the direction that you want, and how much that can change not just the ending, but just the very next mission that you end up doing. It could radically change like the outlook of your party and everything else in between. I thought that was really great. Shadows Over Loathing. Anyone play Shadows Over Loathing or West of Loathing at all?
No.
So,
Alright.
I've played
Yeah, so-
West of Loathing.
okay, what do you think of West of Loathing, Anthony?
Hilarious.
Yes. It's that, but better. And in a better setting, too. So you're kind of up against like eldritch horrors and stuff like that in this one. And this is one of the few games, it's kind of like, when you look at the screenshots of this game, you're like, wow, this looks like it was made by like a 12-year-old. Because a bunch of like stick figures and stuff like that. And that kind of just adds to the charm more than anything else. There's tons of really incredible, clever, like humor. It's one of those games that are just genuinely funny. It doesn't just try to be funny, it just is.
The silly
And,
walk. The silly
yeah,
walk option in the first game is one of the funniest fucking things to watch.
They
Tell me it's the
elaborate on that
opposite
even
of High
further.
on Life.
Oh, God
Yes.
damn, what is with you and High on Life, man? Leave it
You
alone.
know what's with me in High on Life.
Alright, we'll get to Ryan's disappointments later. But Shadows Over Loathing, if you want a genuinely funny game with some light RPG mechanics and everything like that, definitely check that out. Next one is Trails from Zero. This is the fourth game in the Trail series, starting with the Trials in the Sky series. And this starts a whole new arc in a place called Crossbell. It introduces a bunch of really great characters, and it's the most tight like package experience of all the Trails games. These two games, Trails from Zero and Trails from Azure, coming out later this year. So if you feel like Trails in the Sky was, kind of felt like bloated, you can actually start from here and not lose too much of the experience. Although it's always best to start from the beginning. I'm very much looking forward to Trails from Azure, because that's one of my favorites in the entire series of like 15, 16 games out at this point. And then my last honorable mention, which might surprise a few people, is Elden Ring. Did not make the cut. And I took some hits this year after I gave that game an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I
which-
was gonna say that's because you hate the game, clearly. Come on.
No. I think
Hate
the
it.
game
8
itself.
out of 10.
Jay thinks Elden Ring is the worst game, confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, just like Breath of the Wild with
Yeah,
the
I was going to
Rhine.
say, this is your Breath of the Wild.
Nothing made me happier than all the people complaining about your review and then discovering that there were, in fact, issues on PC.
Yeah, I think the funniest point of time was where they were saying like, "Oh, we should have just waited until the day one patch, and then the day one patch dropped, and then it made my experience even worse because that undid all the shaders and stuff like that that I had loaded up at the time. If I had played this game in its perfect state without any kind of flaws with the gameplay and with the visual fidelities like just freezing all the time and all these other things that are wrong with it, I think it would have been a 9. It wouldn't have been anything higher because the way I feel with Elden Ring is that they took a beautiful spread of Nutella, right? Just gorgeous, tasty spread, and instead of putting it and slathering it over one piece of toast, they put it over a 12-inch sub. So yeah, it's still tasty, it's still good, but they spread it so thinly to the point where you're just repeating the same kind of content with the same exact bosses that you fought before. I think I fought the same boss like 6 times during my experience. It's one of those things where the first like 30 to 40 hours of the game is incredible. And you just see new things, you experience new areas and blah, blah, blah. But as you go more and more and deeper in, it's like that Skyrim effect where you discover that same cave for the 10th time with the same kind of enemies, with the same kind of rewards. I think Elden Ring does a good job with giving you rewards that actually matter at the very least, but it just feels like, they just try to spread themselves too thin with the amount of ideas and content that they actually had. I think it still plays great. I think it's still the most accessible of all the Souls games. I think that is worth a lot. But to me, as a person that's already been into that kind of game, I didn't really feel that as much of a benefit to me particularly. I think FromSoft's still best, most tightest experience that they've created so far is Sekiro, in my book. So going to my top 10, I will say that only my top 3 are numbered. The rest are not, because I can't be bothered. So the first game is AI, the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative. I think everyone knows how much I love the Zero Escape series, and this is from the creator of that. I thought the original AI Somnium Files was great. I brought it to Phoenix Down this year with Drew. How'd you enjoy that game, Drew?
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah. And Nirvana Initiative is more of that, but better in a lot of ways, where they added a lot more content to the package, and the twists and turns in the game are just masterfully executed. It's just so much fun. I will say that they went a little too far with the quick time events in this one with all the combat elements and stuff like that. I think it was a bit overdone, but outside of that, I thought this was a great sequel, which I tremendously enjoyed. And if you like the first game, obviously play this one as a direct sequel. The next game on the list is Signalis. And anyone else play Signalis this year?
Yeah, that's a very good old school survival horror game.
It
I
is very
played
good, yeah.
I played the demo.
You played the demo. It's on Game Pass, Anthony. You should check it out.
I played the demo. I played the demo long before it even was out because it was one of
okay.
the Steam festival or whatever, the Next Fest or whatever they call it. I played it there because it looked interesting.
Yeah, this is a game where it is a very uncompromising experience, and I mean that both positively and negatively. I think it takes some of the best elements of the old school survival horror games, like the atmosphere, the kind of constant dread of wondering if you have enough resources to get through the next fight, just kind of being very protective of all your items and how much you use them and everything. But also it has some of the elements like very, very, very limited inventory space, which can get on your nerves quite a lot, but it adds to that old school flair in a lot of ways. So I can't really blame it too much because it's supposed to be like that. But I will say that this game has incredible atmosphere. It has such a intriguing mystery around its surrounding story, and the payoff is pretty good. I don't think it could have been as good as but it really comes down to like how much you're able to unearth before you finish the game that you kind of get the best out of it. But this is a game where I played it and I was like, wow, these elements from those old games still stand up to the test of time. You just gotta put a little slightly more modern flair to some of the elements with the visuals and everything. But the boy was it was just a pleasure to just play this on Halloween. Yeah, this is perfect Halloween game that I played. The next game on the list is The Case of the Golden Idol. Anyone play this one?
No, I've heard a
I
lot of
have
people
that
talk
one on my
about it.
wish. I have that on my wish list on Steam.
If you like the Return of Obra Dinn, this game was made for you. This is one of those logic puzzle games where in equal parts can make you feel like a genius and a total idiot at the same time, while you're trying to figure out what's happening and try to deduce based on the information that's presented to you what's actually going on. And it's got this really clever overarching plot to the entire thing where everything feels kind of independent to each other, but once you actually see the full picture, it just kind of connects all together. So this very, very short game, but at the same time, it's like the perfect length for like a brain teaser kind of deal. So if you like deductive games with clever plots and some interesting stories and stuff like that, I think you should definitely check that one out. Next one is Chained Echoes. This is another Game Pass game. I'm sure some of you guys tried it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good, old school.
It's real good.
Like
I've got it on my-
Xenogears. Yeah.
I've got it on my list to talk about.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So Chained Echoes is, I grew up on the SNES, PlayStation 1 generations of games. And this is one of those titles that like wears its inspirations like badges of honor. Like it's very heavily influenced by Chrono Trigger and also like Xenogears and stuff like that. And those are very good games to take inspiration from. But it does enough to put its own spin on this kind of story and archetype that it has, and also the general mechanic of the combat, the push and pull between the whole overdrive and the being kind of stuck in the middle of where this bar where everything that you do either pushes the meter forward or backwards. And if you go overloaded, then you end up taking double the damage. You get weaker and everything. So the kind of push and pull of trying to stay in the middle of where you're supposed to be with the moves that you make and the choices that you do in a moment-to-moment combat, I thought was really brilliant. It's one of the situations where, you know how you play an RPG game and you're trying to save your resources? Oh, I don't want to spend my MP, I don't want to spend my AP and stuff like that, and the battles drag because you're only using attack moves and stuff like that. I think those are very common, but I don't think those are particularly well designed because the best kind of situations for combat in RPGs when you're using everything in your arsenal to finish the fight. And this game allows you to do that with every single encounter, which I thought was really well done. And the story itself was also pretty good. I'm not going to say that it's like better than, some of the stuff out there, but it has a good heart, and it was executed pretty well. So I enjoyed that quite a bit.
So what you're saying is Drew's going to play this on Phoenix Down right after he's finished Xenosaga?
We'll see. We gotta do the entire Xenosaga trilogy, and then obviously we gotta do the Xenoblade trilogy too. There's a slight
you know what? My
connection
bad.
there.
My bad, Jay. Totally
And,
forgot
one step at a time, Anthony.
I just want to hear.
There's a order. Yeah.
I want Drew to do the Xenosaga trilogy on Phoenix Down just to hear him pronounce the subtitles of every game.
The German.
Yeah, the Wheels of
Good fucking
Macht.
luck.
No, I'm good.
Drew, we all know that if I want something, now if it's kind of an inevitability.
It's
so
going to
just-
happen, bitch.
It's not gonna happen. It will be the
Don't
year
worry.
of Xenosaga. I'm not going to do that.
Oh God.
Don't worry, man. The
3
first
months later.
You can't even afford to play these games. They're like what, $100 a pop?
No, I'm good.
No. The when they come out with like the trilogy pack or something like that.
Oh,
is when
dude,
I'll
you know
strike.
how much I would love if Bandai Namco
Mm-hmm.
would do a fucking Xenosaga trilogy. God damn it!
They will eventually.
But
It'll
isn't the
happen.
license fucked up because that company's over in Nintendo now? So like, who owns that name?
It wouldn't be done by Monolith per se. It's the property is owned by Bandai Namco at this point.
So they actually
it'll be
own
done
the
without
Xenos-
Monolith.
They own Xenosaga, is what you're telling me.
Bandai Namco, yeah, they own
Okay.
Xenosaga.
I didn't know if they
Okay.
owned it or if Monolith still retained it. That's what I
We-
didn't know.
Don't worry, guys. We can. It's the first game is only like $24. The second game is only $30, and then the third game's $200.
Yeah, that
For
third
just the
game,
disc.
that third game is so expensive, and the thing is like the first game is it's a masterpiece. That second
Third game is the best one.
the second game drags so bad, but it's still good, and then the third game's pretty good.
Yeah, it just be like that. But we'll get there. No need to talk about the future. We'll get there when we get there. So the next game on my list is actually Neon White. Anyone play this one?
I have not.
No.
Okay, so that sense of speed and like adrenaline that you feel when you're playing like a really good Sonic level, and you're just going full throttle. You're just dodging all the enemies. You're doing the loopy loops. You're collecting all the coins, and you're like, yeah, this is nice. That is what it feels like to play Neon White at all times. The sense of speed and control that you have with that game as you're just zipping through the levels, doing untold amount of like stylish kind of weird movements and cool stuff on the way to like get the best time for a particular stage. It just gives you that feeling, and it's a game that kind of pushed me in a direction that I normally don't go to. I'm not the kind of person that traces the high scores for a lot of things. Like if I'm like, oh, if I finish the game, if I finish the stage with a decent time, that's good enough for me. But I felt so much fun just playing the game that I was compelled to get the best times and collect every single collectible in every single stage in this entire game. And that's something that I haven't done in a very, very long time. That kind of speaks to how much I enjoy this game. So if you're a bit of a speed demon and you enjoy the just kind of like the flow of like that gameplay where everything is just going by so quickly, but you're in total control, I highly, highly recommend Neon White. And also the story is pretty neat. It gives you just enough to kind of keep you wanting more, but doesn't get in the way of the actual gameplay, which is going to be the actual star of the experience. And I'm actually kind of surprised that I'm the first person to bring this one up, and that's going to be God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure
weird.
if, like,
1 hour,
yeah.
20 minutes in, and that game hasn't even been mentioned.
Look at the two people. I don't own a next-gen console. Drew hates Sony.
Yeah, but it's on PS4.
Yeah, it's on PS4.
All right, well, I wasn't interested to get it right away. There, I said it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, whether you are invested in the story or not, I think for me is kind of I'm in the same park as like Ryan when it comes to these kind of games where we're like emotionally invested in the story. We want to not get spoiled, and that's going to be generally the biggest motivating factor in us to kind of get the game early and just kind of play through it within the launch window. And this is a game that delivered on basically most of the promises that they made on the original game. I think the storytelling and the performance. Yeah, we make jokes about the Kratos fucking Game of the Year award speech and stuff like that, but I think he earned it. I mean, I think the performance is not just by Kratos, but everyone in this entire game, just some of the best I've seen in the industry, period.
Yeah, the voice actor for Sindri was tremendous as well.
Incredible,
really good. So
yeah,
I can't say enough about the vocal performances in that game.
Mm-hmm.
They were all amazing. Yeah,
the vocal to match that, it has the visual fidelity to match. No issues whatsoever in this game with like the bugs and stuff. It's a silly thing that I have to say, but this game came out and it was complete. It didn't need a day 1, day 10 patch in order to become, a better playing game. It was just good from the very beginning. And I hate that I have to mention that as a positive because it's not a standard in the industry anymore. The attention to detail that they put into this game, the improvements they made with the gameplay, the overall story, their portrayal of iconic characters like Thor and Odin especially, just blew me away. I love their interpretations. Just playing the game was a pleasure. Watching the story unfold, the relationship between Kratos and his son, kind of evolving over time. It was an absolute pleasure to watch. I just kind of wish that they went a little bit further in terms of the stuff that you can do in the game. A lot of it still felt like a just checklist of things to kind of just kind of do over time. It didn't feel like it was kind of built into the world and felt as meaningful as it could have been. That's kind of the only real detractors to the actual game. The next game on the list, and this is a game that's come up many times, I'm not going to speak much about it, Rogue Legacy 2. I think it's the perfect sequel. You have an incredibly solid foundation in the original, and you improve upon it by adding additional mechanics and polishing some elements which were a little bit rough, and that's exactly what they did with Rogue Legacy 2. So now we're finally up to the top three. And number 3 is going to be Vampire Survivors. We've talked about this game enough, but I will say that it's rare in our industry for us to be in the moment where we get to see a new genre appear and become popularized. And the Vampire Survivors or the VS likes is a new genre now. Kind of like the moment where Dark Souls dropped and then Souls-like became a thing. We're at that moment for a brand new genre.
Oh, come
and
on,
I
Jay.
think that's absolutely lovely.
You just lost your Souls credibility. It's Demon Souls. Okay? That was the first one.
I know, but Dark Souls is the one that popularized the
I
series.
know. I just.
Yeah.
Actually, it's Kingsfield.
Technically,
You fucking
Kingsfield.
noob.
You got to do the
Yeah,
you gotta say that.
actually, it was Kingsfield on the PS1.
Yeah. I actually kind of want to go back to those Kingsfield games at some point, but
Oh,
I've been
don't.
told not
No,
to.
you
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No,
No,
you
You
don't.
don't want to go
No, you
back to
don't.
them.
No.
Yeah, well, the peanut gallery says I shouldn't, but we'll see what happens.
No, don't.
It- At that point, it's not, oh, this game is difficult, but fair. It's this game, I'm fighting the controls, oh, and I'm dead.
Isn't the first, so in Kingsfield 1, literally if
Kingsfield
you turn,
1 is Kingsfield. Oh,
if you
yeah,
turn
if you turn
around,
the wrong way at the beginning, you die.
You literally die if you turn around the other way.
You get eaten by a monster. I
That's
think
like-
that's actually Kingsfield 2.
I thought it was
And
the first
he's-
one because it's a big ass plant, right? If you turn around,
Yeah, it's a plant or an octopus or something like that, but I think it's technically Kingsfield 2 because I think that was released as Kingsfield in America.
no.
Guys,
Kingsfield 2 is actually on. Didn't they make 4 of them? Isn't there 4 total?
There's 4, but I
three.
thought one of them...
There were 4, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
so
4.
here it is. Since the original Kingsfield was released only in Japan, the English language version of Kingsfield 2 is retailed at Kingsfield. So it's the third game, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they released it in Japan as Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah, I think that's the one. And then they re-released it in the States with all the H scenes removed, right? So
Right, yeah.
the thing about censorship, yeah.
Super
But
Mario
all the
2
stuff-
is the
Auto
Dark
aim
Souls of
auto
Mario.
aim was turned off.
All the stuff that you guys mentioned makes me want to play the game more than I want to play. So you guys are fairly miserable at your, recommendation. But so-
You know what, Jay? I'll talk to you when you're done that game. We'll not have a fun time.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say like I'm gonna beat the game or I'm gonna complete 100%. I just want to poke at it and see what pops. I just want to try what it feels like.
You're better off doing Shadow Tower.
Oh no.
Maybe
no,
that's the one that I
no.
heard that more people recommend than the original Kingsfield stuff. But yeah, that's that. Okay, so number 2 on my list is gonna be this is an interesting one. 11th hour, last minute kind of edition that ended up really shaking up my list. It's gonna be RPG Time: The Legend of Wright at number 2. And this is a game that everyone saw during the I know you. Did you play it a little bit, Ken?
Yeah.
Did you review it?
I played about for about an hour. I didn't ever review
okay.
it, but I did play it.
Okay. I hope you go back to that game at some point. So this is a game that I think a lot of us saw a trailer during, I think it was during one of those Nintendo Directs. I think they had a trailer for the game where you see this really colorful, sketchbook, and then you see the characters moving around in it, and there's all this RPG elements and actions and stuff like that. And that kind of got my imagination flowing in terms of what the game could be. But I didn't even know when the game came out. So at a certain point where I was looking for something to play, I learned that the game had already come out, back in September or something like that, even on PC. So I grabbed it and I started playing, and I have to tell you, I haven't smiled this much while playing through a game in years. This is a game that made me it revitalized my love for gaming in a lot of ways, because it's easy for us with the amount of games that we review and that we play in our spare time to become cynical about the gaming industry as a whole, because everything feels like a carbon copy of each other, and then just microtransactions and harmful things that are trying to manipulate and exploit consumers and stuff like that. And it it makes me feel like, it's just fucking depressed about the state of gaming. But when I play a game like this that is just pure passion, pure joy and fun, just built into every single pixel of every single page, it just made me just like fall in love all over again with gaming. And I can't say enough in terms of like how crazy good this game was. And when I read the reviews for the game, because I was kind of curious about what kind of reviews it got, I am like shocked that it's like this is a game that's in the 70s in Open Critic. If I were to have reviewed this game, it would have been a 9.5 hovering 10 perhaps. Because I don't know a lot of things that are wrong with the game. I think the only thing that I even had a minor complaint about is that there's no run button, quote unquote. But you don't really need it because each individual page is not even that big to begin with. So it's a situation where if there is one game on my particular list from this year that I think everyone can play regardless of skill level or your interest in these kind of games, this would be the one that I recommend that you play. Because, man, it's
Say
just
the title one more
so good.
time.
Sure, it's RPG Time, The Legend of Wright, with a W.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on sale during Steam sale for like, I don't know, like $20 or something like that. It's not a particularly long game either. I think I completed it in about 8 hours, but that was the perfect amount of time. The attention to detail, because every single thing that happens in this game happens on the board. Like you're basically playing a game that another kid has made, and just for you to play, and everything is happening on like a table. So when he is kind of explaining events and things that are happening, he's wearing like a headband of the cutout of the character's face on it, and then he's kind of like role playing as them as he's talking to you. When there are events in the story where like things are shaking up, he's like shaking the desk a little bit so that you can kind of like see him do it. Every single thing that he does, like just kind of adds to the immersion that you're actually kind of on this desk playing this game that this other kid made, and it's just wonderful. I can't speak highly enough about it. I think everyone should check it out. And my last game, I think probably no surprise, is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And what I'll say about it is that I think Xenoblade 1 and 2, there are elements of those games that might be better than the elements that are presented here. But this is the only game of the trilogy so far that doesn't actually have any flaws. Xenoblade 1 had the flaw with the side quests being completely throwaway and kind of worthless. And, they have no meaning behind it. Xenoblade 2 had that thing where you needed to have certain skills built into certain blades, and you had to like play gacha game in order to unlock your blades and stuff like that for no reason at all. But Xenoblade Chronicle doesn't have any of those flaws at all, and it was just a wonderful experience. It delves into matters. It delves into some really dark, matters when it comes down to characters that are, when you have only 10 years to live in a lifetime, and all you know is, killing another to, survive another day, you live in a completely different world than, the one that we're familiar with. And the way they kind of go and live through those times and what that does to people and the other ones, they're fighting against, it's very well told. The combat is really, I'm not going to say it's the best of the series, but it's one of the best in this series. And the characters, the music, and also, I don't know how they put this game on the Switch. Like, if you put screenshots of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 next to, like, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it's like night and day. It doesn't even look like they belong on the same side. And the game still performs fairly well, in spite of how good it looks on the Switch. I really, really want them to be able to flex their artistic talents by building a game on a platform that will support the vision that they have for the next game that they're making. But what they accomplished here is nothing short of miraculous. and it's going to be one of the best looking games and best playing games on the Switch of all time in my book. So that's my number one, and I'm done.
All right. Well, maybe someday, Nintendo will make a console that is as powerful as the
Right.
PlayStation 4.
I just thought of something.
As powerful as my phone, maybe.
I just thought of something.
That's a
It's
fable, sir.
because Pokemon was brought up. Pokemon Legends Arceus came out this year. I have not seen that been brought up in any Game of the Year list, and if people love that game, did Violet and Scarlet do that much fucking damage?
I didn't get to go yet.
It feels like it did because.
Oh,
like,
shit!
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Terrence,
not done
it's
just
just-
yet.
It's
No,
just because
but I
it
mean-
came out in January. It's
That
Yeah,
too. But...
it's. I'll talk about it briefly.
Okay.
It
I
was
just
on
was
my
like-
honorable mentions as well, Anthony, but it got knocked off by other stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I played Scarlet. I still need to review it. I have not reviewed it yet. It did not make my Game of the Year list. It also did not make my disappointments. That game is okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
based on my son's feedback, I know visually and everything, it's kind of a mess. It's got some glitches and stuff, but in terms of a Pokemon game, my son has loved it.
Yeah, it's a fine Pokemon game. I don't know if I like the style that it's going with. They're obviously taking. This is like Arceus is going to be like how they're going to be doing their games from now on. And I know maybe I'm just an old school Pokemon fan, but it's fine. They're trying to take it in a different direction, but there is definitely some issues with that game. Because, like falling through the map, which I did a few times, stuff like that.
Is it still doing all that though? Have
I
they
mean,
patched it
I
yet?
mean, why do they care?
They've patched
well.
it a few times, and I'm still getting some weird glitches occasionally.
Like, they're already
Damn.
working on the next Pokemon. They don't give a fuck.
I mean, yeah, they already made their 50 million or however much it did.
Yeah.
God, that's crazy.
That's only the games too. Think about it. They just introduced a bunch of new Pokemon. And they
Yeah.
can sell merch off of every single one of those Pokemon.
It's a racket. It's a racket.
It's a proof that children are stupid. Moving on.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
go
and
back.
we were all those kids.
Yeah, we were
You know,
stupid, man.
Come on.
Yeah,
As-
you're,
as-
you're right. No
As
doubt.
Vampire Survivors, which is not like the biggest brain game. It's all for a list. Kids are stupid. Move the cursor around.
Hey man, that game takes whatever. You got to unlock secrets and stuff. That game takes some.
Don't, no. Anyway, it's your turn.
I think it does. Yeah.
Terrence, you're up.
Okay. Oh, I'm up. Okay, yeah, I'm up. All right. So, excuse me. So I'm gonna start with my disappointments, which I quickly did since everybody else was doing them. I didn't have them. Saints Row. I liked the older Saints Row games. I was hoping that this was going to be kind of a return to form for them, but it really was not. And I don't really need to go too much into it. You read my review, and I mean what Anthony said or whoever it was that brought it up. I kind of think Volition might be done because yeah.
I mean, I'm not the person to be like, go woke, go broke, but what the fuck were they trying to do with the new characters even? I saw them and went, this is the gang, huh?
Yeah, even I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the direction because some of them there was traits. I liked some of the characters in parts, but then others I don't know. I don't know. It was almost like they were trying to tick every box of popular. Yeah, they were trying to make sure everybody was included, kind of thing. And I think it was too much.
Which is funny because in number 2, what we have. Asian American, we have a woman on the team, we have Pierce, who I don't remember what group he gets stuck with, and then the guy who dies, who breaks you out of prison.
Johnny Gat.
No, Johnny Gat, you break out of jail.
Oh,
in number 2. It's Carlos. He breaks you out in 2, and he's some sort of Latin background. And
yeah,
it's
they always had that.
the whole team are different individuals with different pasts. It was well done before. It's what are you doing?
No.
Saints Row got more conversation on this show than God of War Ragnarok. Let's go.
That's crazy, right? And you know what? God of War is not anywhere on my list because I didn't play the second one. I will. I know the story because I read all about it before it even came out. But I don't know. Like I may go back and play it at some point, but I'm satisfied with the story kind of thing. I kind of want to see the next journey. But anyways, my second disappointment, Rainbow Six Extraction.
Oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it?
That was
Wait,
a thing.
is this a different game?
Yes, this
Yes.
was the PVE game where you go in and,
what-
and you fight
was it
the
a
You fight
aliens.
different-
aliens. You fight
Was it a-
aliens.
Was it a different download?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's separate
it's a
game.
totally
What?
different, totally separate game. Yeah, man,
Oh my
it came
God,
out.
I
I reviewed it.
Dude, it launched
I
at
legit
Game
thought it was
Pass.
just a different.
It launched
thought
at
it was
Game
just a
Pass.
different-
Game Pass.
I
Yeah.
thought it was just a different mode of Siege.
No, this is a whole different game, son.
No, it's a whole man. But it's a disappointment.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No, like the concept is cool, but like I don't know. They just first of all, I don't like what Rainbow Six has become. This is, I guess, kind of like Drew with the Pokemon, because I like the direction where they're going with Arceus, but I'll talk about that later. But I don't like that Rainbow Six has just become PvP. Like I remember we used to have so much fun, like doing terrorist hunt
Oh yeah,
and stuff, and like saying this room is clear. It would always be me because I'm just that guy. Like, all right, this is clear. We're like, well, we lost Terrence. That's generally how that happens. Like, I thought the room, yeah. But anyways, it was a good time. And now that game, I don't even know. And then it seems like it's so toxic because I hear my son playing it and he's there always yelling about team killers, like, because you could just kill people. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
My son the same. It feels like nothing fires up him and his group of friends faster than playing Siege.
Yeah, and I'm like, why do you go back? Because all I hear you just complaining about it. But I don't know. I was hoping Extraction was going to be a kind of return to form, or at least a path to getting back to what Rainbow Six used to be, just kind of via the aliens. But it wasn't. No. You can play it single player. It's incredibly difficult to play single player. So you kind of have to play it, co-op if you really want to get the full experience. And I mean, it does some cool things, like with the different agents. Like if one of them dies, excuse me, during a mission, once you like load back into the game, you have to pick somebody different. But you'll come across that agent that was captured by the aliens, and then that'll turn into an objective where you have to save them and evac them, and then they'll be back on your roster or whatever. There's some neat stuff, but it just overall, it wasn't there. Warhammer Shooters Blood and Teeth.
Oh
Was one of my
god,
disappointments.
I wouldn't even give that.
Yeah, I
game
didn't have that on my disappointments, but I can tell you it's disappointing.
Yeah.
I think it just sucks.
It does. Like, and it's so, I don't expect much from a side-scrolling like shooter, because I mean, you know what you're getting for that type of stuff. Kind of like the Shank games, like Shank and Shank 2, which were phenomenal. I was thinking this was going to be something like that, and I love Warhammer, so I'm like, well, shit, this is going to be great. Nah, I mean, there's a weird unlock system. The combat is just, it's boring, really. I mean, and I had glitches.
I've never played a side-scrolling shooter with worse controls than that game.
I was just about to say, and not to mention, the controls were so bad. Avoid it. There's better Warhammer games out there. Which,
I mean, there's
not-
definitely more Warhammer games out there.
or definitely they come out every 3 hours, I think, is what the release cycle is.
Was this not the same people that did Guns, Gore, and Cannoli?
It is, and I like that game. That's why I thought this was going to be good, but it's not. Like they did 2 of those Guns, Gore, Cannolis that were good, but they took a step back. Like I don't know. It's a shame. My last disappointment, I'm literally going to spend no time at all on, other than to say what it is: Babylon's Fall.
Oh,
So
all right, moving on.
what I had for my honorable mentions, Warhammer 40K Dark Tide, really good game. If you've played the Vermintide games, 1 or 2, where it was the historical or the high fantasy version of Warhammer, you're fighting the rats. This is like that, but it's in the 40K universe. But they expand on it, so you make your own character. There's different classes. You need to find that good synergy between the classes when you're playing if you really want to be successful. There's different modifiers to missions, and the mission board is always changing. Of course, there's a cash shop because everything has that, which that sucks. Like they have like armor sets, which is it doesn't do anything for the game. It just puts you in like a costume or a skin. But it's too expensive and not worth it. But the gameplay loop is a lot of fun, and it would have actually made my list, but for the glitches. When it launched, it had a lot of problems, and I played it a little bit ago, and it crashed on me twice. It's supposed to come to Xbox at some point, which is what I'm waiting on. We were supposed to get that launch date after it came on PC, but still haven't heard. So, we'll see. Overwatch 2, I won't even talk about. It's on the honorable mentions. I'll briefly. So I had left Overwatch, and this brought me back. Not for the game, because I am in agreement in everything that everyone has said. And I tell y'all niggas this every time we play. I'm here for the camaraderie. Like, I'm here to cut up with y'all, try some crazy shit, and, that sometimes works out more often than Ken likes to give me credit for. But and I'm just here to have some fun. Like, that's really it. But yeah, it's a shame. They also took, a step back, which is sad, because Blizzard is one of my favorite developers, and between this and then Diablo, and that's why I'm hoping that 4 is, I don't know. Well, hope springs eternal. Multiverses. Again, I was into it super, super hard and then kind of fell off. It is a good game. But I'll just kind of drop in and out and see what's up when they introduce different characters or whatever. And then my last one is Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes, which was is it Musu? Is that how you say it? I never know how to say it. The Dynasty Warriors type.
Yeah.
Yeah, the type gameplay. And it's a sequel to the Three Houses, with a twist, because I didn't even realize it when I went into when I started the game. But like the person that you play as in Three Houses is like the bad guy in this one. So like some of the students that were in that one are now going against that professor. But it's kind of interesting how they do the story and stuff. But if you liked Three Houses, I recommend Three Hopes. It was kind of good. Okay, my top 10. Number 10 is Elden Ring. I'm not a fan, as we all know, of those Soulsborne games, which is crazy because I think this list has at least 3 of those types on here, maybe 4 if you count that one. But Elden Ring changed my mind. I don't think I'll ever go back and play Dark Souls or something like that. I think the draw to Elden Ring was just the fact that I could do whatever, however I wanted. And I appreciated that, even though I died a lot, and I still haven't beaten that game yet. But I mean, I died a lot in it. I didn't get as frustrated as I thought I was going to get, because it was just kind of like once I kind of ran into that wall, you're like, okay, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna go over here and see what they're doing over here, and kind of figure that out. And maybe I was having more success, and then you level up and you come back. And that was, I don't know, that I enjoyed the loop there, and I'm sure Ryan or someone will wax poetic about that, but I did enjoy Elden Ring quite a bit. Number 9 was Pokemon Arceus. I like the old school Pokemon approach, but even as a youth playing those games when they came, man, I'm old. That was when I was in high school. Playing those games when they came out, I always wanted it to be more like the anime. So, how Ash was there and he had Pikachu running around with them or whatever else. And it kind of showed them going through the different, trials or whatever of catching the Pokemon, the whole process. I enjoyed that Arceus brought that into the games. It was more, I guess, realistic to me, as realistic as catching a pocket monster can be. But I enjoyed the direction of that, and this being like the genesis of what we know in the Pokemon games. So it had the crafting aspect of like, you are out in the wild, you make your Pokeballs, and they were like steam powered, which was super cool. But you craft all this stuff while you were out and everything. And I was hoping that was going to be what the new Pokemon games were going to be, which I haven't played the new ones yet myself, but I guess they took some stuff from Arceus, but it sounds like they also took some stuff away, and I don't know. I don't know. But I enjoyed Arceus quite a bit. the story kind of having where you could it wasn't like the usual of running through the different gym leaders as all the other Pokemon games have been. This one was like you were creating the Pokedex, so you were like one of the explorers going out here and building this and finding these Pokemon in this league and stuff. So I don't know, it was a good game. I enjoyed it. Number 8 is TMNT Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Really good game. And we gonna have to play that because we got 6 niggas right here, so we get on there and I can be Casey Jones because I have him unlocked, but I ain't used him yet. Yeah, it's a super good game. I love Turtles in Time. That is probably my favorite one. And it's so funny because before I played Shredder's Revenge, I listened to the soundtrack and I heard the song that Raekwon and Ghostface did for involving Shredder, and like I was like listening to it and I was like, man, that would be dope if this played on the boss fight. And I played that game and I was like, oh yeah! Like that's what cut out. It was great. Like I love that game. It was so good. Number 7, continuing with our Wu-Tang kind of thing here, is Evil Dead the game.
Oh shit! I forgot that came out.
Yeah, everybody did because ain't nobody playing it no more.
I was gonna say, why did they never put that on Game Pass? Because that would have been like...
It would have been perfect for Game Pass. Oh my god, especially around Halloween. But you know what? They might be waiting for Rise
movie?
to come out because there's a new Evil Dead movie supposed to come out in April, I think. So I don't know. Maybe that'll help resurge it. But Method Man did a song for that, but it didn't end up in the game. But he did a song for that was all right. But if you enjoy Evil Dead, it's a lot of fun. It's one of the asymmetrical, I think that's what they're called, horror games. So like not Left 4 Dead, Dead by
13th?
Daylight.
Friday
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah, Friday the 13th, Dead by Daylight, something like that.
Evolve.
Attack of the Killer Clouds.
Actually,
is it the Killer Clouds for space getting a game?
Yes, because they're just going to give all the 80s.
the guys that made Friday the 13th are doing Texas Chainsaw, right?
Yep, they are. It's funny because I have another one on this list, which I'll talk about in a minute, because all the 80s franchises apparently are coming back in these little asymmetrical games. But it is more like Evolve, you're right, because you either play as the heroes, which is the people that you've seen in the movie, so, Ash and his friends and Cheryl and different characters, and are broken up into classes, and then the other side is the demon. And just like in Evolve, the demon has to level up, has to power up, so you fly around in that Sam Raimi kind of camera aspect of moving real fast. You know what I'm talking about. It's kind of the fisheye thing. And you collect these orbs to build up your infernal energy, which in turn allows you to summon other, powerful deadites and different stuff like that. I've reviewed the game. You all can read it. It's really, it's a fun game. The problem is it requires an audience and ain't nobody playing it. So, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to enjoy it, but I'm hoping anyway that they drop it on Game Pass, because I think that would be perfect. It would be perfect for that. Number 6 is Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise. This was due to Elden Ring, honestly, because again, I wasn't a fan of those types of games that do the combat with the triggers. It still weirds me out. Like I can do it, like I'm used to it now, but like it just, anyway. I was already interested because it was a Final Fantasy game. But when I played it, just the combat system, it's weird as fuck, first of all.
What's
but
the
job
combat system?
It's the job system, yeah. The combat is so much fun. And you have so much flexibility once you learn the job system, which is confusing, and I still have questions. Like I need to put the thing online because it's confusing, but it's very in depth. Like there's tons of jobs that you have seen throughout, the Final Fantasy legacy. I mean, red mages and sages and black mages. If you've seen a Final Fantasy game, it's in Stranger of Paradise. But it plays like the Soulsborne games, but faster, in my opinion. So it's, you have melee weapons, swords, and things, stuff that you've seen in Final Fantasy. But then you'll have attacks on your trigger that cost magic, and you gain mana by attacking with your normal attack, and then you can do these more powerful attacks using those magics. And then if you choose the different jobs, obviously you'll do different stuff. So black mages can cast lightning and blizzard, and white mages has cure and different things which will help your group. So I mean,
Can
it's
you
the final.
switch jobs on the fly with like a press of a button, Darren?
You can have two of them. So you can, when you're in
okay.
combat, you can have two. So I usually roll with I'm a dragoon and a white as a sage. Actually, I think I'm leveling up to sage now, which is a mixture of I can cast white and black spells.
Why
which get more
did I
powerful.
know? Why did I know that you would be playing a dragoon?
Oh, sure. Oh, that's what's all me. Try to be in their face. That jump attack.
I'm. This is one of those games where I've been looking at it, and I will end up playing it at some point.
It's good.
Yeah,
Same.
it's
Yeah.
good.
It's
I
good.
have intentions to play this game eventually.
And you gotta kill motherfucking chaos.
Gotta kill chaos. And Jack, oh my god, Jack is the man. Because he don't give a fuck.
That dude is just like, every cutscene, he's just like, what the fuck is this shit? Let's kill chaos.
Yeah, like people come and he's like explaining something. He's like, "Well, this is." He's like, "Shut up! I'm here for chaos." Like,
I'm here
Jack
for
don't give a
chaos.
fuck. It's
The
so
Stranger
good.
of Paradise Twitter feed is excellent as well.
It is. Yes, it
It's
is.
memeing all over the place. It's great.
All over the place. But if you look beyond even the comedy in those memes, that game is actually good. So yeah, y'all, you should check it out when you get some time.
I know. I the one thing I will mention about the memes, there was one. I have no context for this because I have not watched any footage of it or anything like that. But there was one where he was picking up his telephone, and there was one where he picked it up, and it was just like a fart that echoed through like a loud speaker or something. And I don't know why, but I kept playing that over and over again. I have no context for this whatsoever, and it was actually retweeted by the Stranger in Paradise. Like,
Yeah, they've
embraced
leaned
it.
into it. They don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've embraced it. They have totally embraced it, which is good because I think that's helped that game, honestly.
Well, the enemies are also super interesting. Like they're
They
all
are.
out of the original Final Fantasy, and like seeing them in this fidelity now is so cool.
Yep.
I
was
might
fighting
pick this game up today. Damn.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a good ass video game. I enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah, I was fighting toneberries last night. and
Those
that
things
was
take
as
so.
horrifying.
Those things are like fucking bullet sponges, man.
That was
Oh my
the
God.
worst. That was the worst enemy to fight in Final Fantasy 15 because you can't even stagger them.
Oh, dude,
They
they're
just-
just like rocks. You just hit them
They
over
take
and
the
over.
You just hit them,
most
and then they stab you once, and it's
and
a
you
ton
die.
of damage. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they're just as awful in this. So same thing. And there was one mission I had to do. Like I had to kill 4 of them, and then the worst one was when they were near other stuff. Like you can kind of pull enemies, but if they're in a group, like everybody aggroes, and you're like, oh damn it! So now you're dodging everything, and this little green thing who just moves super slow and kills you with one. God, I hate those. Anyways,
The boss fights are fucking epic.
yes, they are. The boss fights are fun. It is legit a good game. Like the memes are funny and Jack is funny, but it's a good game. It is a good game. Number 5, in our continuing with the 80s, Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed.
Oh my god, I forgot that game came out too.
I know. Yeah. See, and this is another
played,
one.
like,
Not only did that come out, but we all have it and could
Yeah.
play it.
And we
I
never
have
did.
not even booted it up.
I played like 2 matches of that game, and I was like, this would be a lot more fun with other people.
Yeah.
Yep. So in a party, it is a lot of fun because I've played it with actually I played it with my son. But yeah, if we had a whole group, like it would be fun. This is just like Evil Dead. It's one of those games where nobody's playing it. It has crossplay, luckily. So I mean, it pulls from everybody, but it takes a little bit to get into matches now. Cause I'm like level 50 something, and like I like it a lot. It's a lot of fun. I mean, you're catching ghost. I mean, I reviewed it for the site as well. But I mean, you create your own Ghostbuster. It has a little story, which is basically the tutorial. Yeah, every time I play it, that's what I end up. Yeah, because when it comes like
I ain't afraid of no bed.
Sleep
Bring
makes me
Busted
feel
makes-
good.
Busted makes me feel
feel
good.
good. Yeah, every time I think that when I started the game off. But it is a good game. it's one of those, again, if it comes to Game Pass, I think it'll do a lot better because it'll have that audience. But yeah, it'll probably be one I won't be able to play for too much longer.
I mean, we all
okay.
have it. You know, it probably would be a good idea to play it at some point.
We
I mean,
could
that's
just
true.
say, hey, let's not play Overwatch tonight. Let's play Ghostbusters.
I was going to say
instead.
it's because y'all play Overwatch all the time. Don't play
Yeah.
nothing else, even though y'all hate it.
That Gluttons for Punishment. We were talking about doing Redfall when it came out too. So, and I
I
guess
would
maybe
play that.
Diablo. Yeah. See,
After
look,
reading that thing you posted about Redfall, I am more excited about that game now than I was.
right? Yeah, I had no idea. They've done a terrible job at marketing that.
I'll be really excited in 2024 when that game comes out.
Oh, here
At
we
this
go.
point, there we go. Yeah. When it's Xbox, you know. All right, so number 4 is Sifu. Sifu is, well, I mean, it's again a roguelike game. But it's kung fu. And if you watched the old school like kung fu movies, you'll appreciate and enjoy that combat stuff a lot more, like Bruce Lee and stuff like that. It is hard. Oh my god, it is hard. But its concept is unique. So as you play it, when you die, you know, in most of those games you die and you lose all your stuff and you have to start over at the fire. Well, when you die and when you go down in Sifu, you age. And you won't actually die until you reach 75, I believe. And so as you get older, you get stronger because obviously you know, if X amount of years have gone on, you're still training, you're better at it. But your health will decrease because you're more fragile because you're older. So it's kind of like that tightrope of balancing, you know, seeing how far you can get. The game is very hard. They've done a lot of updates to it recently, where it has, I believe it has an easy mode now, or you can lessen the difficulty, I think. And it's supposed to be coming to Xbox as well. It was only on PlayStation and PC. It comes to
Switch
Xbox
now too.
Really?
Yeah.
Natively or cloud?
Native.
Right. Well, actually, it's not that. Like, it's not super, you know, graphically.
Yeah,
whatever,
it's
but yeah.
another one of those games that got weird contracts like that, and Neon White and something else. It's like they come to PlayStation first, then they go to Switch, then they go to Xbox. I don't understand contracts.
No, well, I mean, it's better than them just signing and excluding Xbox altogether. But that's,
Well, I mean,
you know,
Xbox excludes itself, so I mean, they're just sticking with
they
the times.
absolutely do. Right. So why should anybody else release on that?
Yeah,
Y'all ain't releasing nothing.
why put it on the Xbox when you can just throw it into the dumpster? Same on the player base, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
exactly. At this point, jeez. But
Before you go on, Darren, I do have one thing to add about Seafood. Is that I'm going to give that game the award, a prestigious award of the worst game that you can go back to after not playing for a long time.
oh my god,
I played the first stage. I was like, this game is dope. I'm going to play more. 7 months later, I go back to it. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm dying every like 5 seconds. I was like, oh shit, I should not have done that.
Right now.
I should not have stopped for 6-7 months and then got back to that game because I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be able to play it again. Because
I did the same thing because I took a break and played it recently for this because I was trying to see and I was like, damn, I'm getting fucked up.
it roughed me up, man. Like, whoo.
Yeah,
Ooh, that boss.
Man. Yeah, it's serious. Lord. Number 3, Gotham Knights. I don't think this would probably be on anybody's list, and everybody's like, man, fuck Gotham Knights. I liked Gotham Knights a lot. Yes, it was 30 frames per second. Yes, it had, weird, choppy combat, but the story was so good. And I'm just a big Batman fan, so that also, I think, led it to it. But the 30 frames per second is not, it's not horrible. We've been playing games like that for forever. I get people wanting it to be 60, and I think it would be super dope at 60, and I hope they do release that patch. But what we got was, it was really good. The combat, after some thought, is actually, I think it is better than the Arkham series combat. You have more flexibility, having the melee and ranged attacks on separate buttons, being able to mix stuff up and go from target to target when you're surrounded was a lot. It's a little easier and less cumbersome than in the Arkham games to me. But no, I enjoy Gotham Knights. I enjoyed all the characters except for really Robin. He was okay, but
He's a whiny bitch.
He is. Yeah, he is. The movement stuff was iffy. The only real good one
Was
for the
was
movement
it
abilities was Nightwing. What?
was it Damien?
No, it was Tim actually.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
for fuck! They've been ruining Tim for a while now. God damn it!
Yeah, I thought it was Damien at first, but no, it
So
was
is
totally
it
Tim Drake.
is it just Robin or is it Red Robin?
No, he's just Robin.
It's just
There,
Robin.
he has a Red Robin costume, but he's just Robin.
Okay, that's weird. Okay,
Yep.
Gotham Knights is number one on my I hope this game comes to Game Pass list.
I hope it does. And actually, they could do that because I think more people need to play it because I think a lot of people got turned off and pissed off at the 30 frames per second thing and other stuff, and I'm, rightfully so. I mean, if you all demand only 60 from your stuff now, given a taste, I feel it. That's fine. I mean, but I can throttle back to experience a good game, and this story is really good.
you can say that, but if you go back and try and play Arkham Knight right now on Xbox,
It looks
Oh,
like
okay.
it looks like it's been
I haven't done
smeared
that.
in Vaseline.
it's like a slideshow sometimes.
Oh God,
It's
okay.
bad.
Well, it's also super low resolution. It's running at like
Yeah.
720p. It looks bad.
Man, okay. See, I have not reinstalled it, and I guess I won't because it'll tarnish the good memories I have it. But yeah, I mean, I know that's people are going to be either side of that. That's just personal opinion. I liked Gotham Knights quite a bit. So if it comes to Game Pass or you can catch it for the low, I wouldn't spend $70. Definitely get it on sale. You should because if you're a fan, you'll enjoy the story. Number 2. I don't think anybody said anything about this. Steel Rising.
Oh yeah.
Is nice. Yeah. So this was Spider's take on the Soulsborne genre of gaming. But it was extremely well done. So it is in Victorian France, Renaissance France. And you are an automaton for Queen Antoinette? Queen Antoinette. And the story, okay, so they follow the historical events to a point, but they kind of interweave this automaton and the king building these evil machines to kill people and take over and everything into the real events, and it's really well done. The story in this was extremely cool. But what sells this game, unlike the other Souls games that are out there, is it has this assist mode where you can tailor this game to however you want to play. If you just want to experience it and be a god, they got a setting for that. If you want to augment where you're taking less damage but giving out a little bit more, you can set that. Like you can have where your stamina instantly refills. Like they didn't make the game so that they made the game more accessible by adding this, which is one of the big complaints that a lot of people have with those the Dark Souls and Elden Rings, is that I would play it if it was easier, which I totally get after playing Elden Ring and dying a lot. So it was nice to see that in Steel Rising. It's janky because Spider's games are janky, so you take that, but it is really well done. The combat, the characters, some of the accents are a little iffy, but I mean, I don't know. I guess a French accent is difficult to do, but it definitely is a really good game. And then my number 1, which nobody has said either, and I don't expect you to, is Midnight Suns. Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Nice. Is it
I
number
want
one,
to
huh?
play that.
Yes, fantastic game. It has it all. It has story. It has combat. It has cards.
They got no smooching.
They don't have any smooch, and it's weird too because so many of the storylines, and this is, I think, a lot of complaints that people had was you have to build these relationships with these characters, and it involves a lot of side games, which is just conversations, and collecting different stuff to give them gifts and everything to build these relationships. But it helps on the battle end because it helps with combos, it helps with their attack, it helps level up their abilities, and then everybody, once you reach a point, everybody has a special Midnight Suns costume. But some of
This game has social links, basically.
yes.
All right.
It even has a Facebook. Like it's called Super Link. It has its own little Facebook thing where
Can you go on a date with Blade?
So
can't.
so
no,
you
can't go on
can.
dates though. You can't smooch.
You can't. So you do, but it's not romantic dates. Like so when you go to a hangout is what they're called. You'll be presented with like three options, and it's like go fishing, have a drink, play a video game, or watch the stars, spar. There's different stuff that you do with them, and when you go into this, you get a cutscene where they talk about something about them. You learn some personal stuff about them. My favorite of the character in the game is Magic. I never knew a lot about Magic's past. I knew I liked her abilities and stuff, but as a comic book fan, I never knew a lot about her. But hearing her, because I looked at some of this stuff to make sure it was, comic book accurate, and it was.
There's
Hearing her
a
backstory was
DC
really
hero
cool.
named Magic.
There's
Is
a what?
it, wait, this is Marvel, right? So
This is Marvel. No, this is Marvel.
There's just a character called Magic.
Yeah. She's
I've never even heard of this
Colossus' sister. Her name is, her real name is Ileana. But yeah, her I guess mutant name, code name is Magic with a K.
Oh.
It's with a K. She's my favorite. And it's wild because a lot of the conversations and stuff you have with her, it makes it seem like you're about to kiss. Like it seems like you're about to be romantic, but this game doesn't have anything like that. Even though a lot of the conversations steer like that, even with like Spider-Man and stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, so, but whatever. But it's good. The combat is strategic. It's like I said, the cards, I reviewed it on the site, but the cards are your attacks. Excuse me. And your different abilities. And you can move around your heroes kind of like chess pieces on the board. So you can, position people in different spots, which you need to do because there are environmental attacks and different things that you can utilize, which if you play the game, don't skip those. They're very important. Because I was like, oh, I don't need them. No, yes, you do. Like, because you'll get fucked up. Use everything tool you got. But you position your different, your heroes versus the different enemies, and different abilities like punch or sprang, which is Captain America throwing his shield, like bouncing off of stuff and hitting someone.
I done sprang
it's totally
the
called
motherfucker.
sprang. Yeah, and the card names are so. In Ghost Rider has one that I like, but I hate at the same time. It's called Hell Ride, and the animation is cool. He summons his Hell Charger, because this isn't Johnny Blaze on the motorcycle, which Johnny Blaze is in this game, but you don't play as him. He summons his Hell Charger and like drives it like straight through a line of enemies, and it does like a ton of damage, but you have to discard your whole hand. So if you decide to play that, obviously that should be like the last card that you're going to do, because you can play 3 cards per turn.
Would you say that the introduction of the card mechanic adds a lot of RNG to the combat?
It does, yes. So
in a negative way, or in a way that keeps it more interesting, you think?
Yep, in a way that keeps it more interesting.
Cool.
Unlike the, kind of the turn-based RPGs where you just run into somebody and you're like, okay, I'm gonna hit you with Meteor or whatever your most powerful thing is. Every fight with this is going to be different because you don't know what you're going to get. You might not get your most powerful attack. You might not even get anything that you can use, so you'll have to redraw till you get something. So it adds to it. But like I said, because you can move around your heroes and use things in the environment, if you build your characters correctly, you can have heroism, which allows you to use those different things in the environment. So you can still make attacks and different things by doing all of that while you're trying to wait for your more powerful moves. It's really well done.
Does it have the XCOM thing of like you can totally like screw yourself? Like some of your best characters can be like dead?
Like forever?
Yeah.
No. Nobody. Yeah, you won't lose anybody forever, thankfully.
Okay.
And you'll get, as you go up in the difficulties level, because it goes all the way to like heroic 8 or something crazy. Like it gets crazy. You'll get less and less revives, but I think the normal you get like 2 revives per mission, and you'll bring your hero back with like 50%. But even if they're dead when you finish it, they'll be fine when you get back. They'll just have a wound, and you'll have to put them in
infirmary.
like rehab. Yeah, like infirmary for a turn. Yeah, that's it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so you won't.
So
you
there
won't
is
ever
some
lose
base.
anybody.
Is there like a base building mechanic as well?
Yes, there is. Yep. So as you build out the Abbey, there is you'll at the Forge, you'll construct different upgrades around there that will. There's one where you can take your heroes into and fight like a room full of enemies if you want to help level them up. Like, and you could do that once per day per hero, which is kind of nice. There's sparring that you can do every day that will give different buffs And this is all stuff that you have to unlock. So there's a bunch of different stuff. And then there's like combat cards that are one-use cards that are super powerful that might like revive somebody with full health. It might give your full team, 160 shield or something like that. You can you unlock those and be able to craft those based on the items and stuff that you'll find around the Abbey. It
Okay.
does a lot. Like the game has everything.
I need to play this. This is totally up my alley. It's just I haven't had the time to actually play this game.
And you will be playing it for a while. If you play, you'll play it for a while, like an XCOM game. Because I mean, like, yep, you'll have story missions, but you'll have like a board full of. There's 3 different areas, so you'll have a board full of different missions that you have to pick and do before you can even do the story missions. But if you just want to do all the side stuff and level out your people, you can totally do that too. You can grind out to get different attacks and the materials to build cards and different stuff. It's a great game. Like it has everything, and it's my number one. That's
Nice.
it.
Definitely gonna check it out after your glowing endorsement.
Good.
All right, is that it for you?
Yes, sir. That's it.
And it's time for the Wombat. Maybe?
It's on mute, sitting there talking away.
The Wombat is dead.
Very professional podcast member here in year 16. So this is the first year I think that I can remember that I have almost enough honorable mentions to make another list. So I'll go through them quickly. Obviously, anybody wants to hear about any of them in more detail, I can do that. But some of them people have already talked about. But we'll do disappointments first. So disappointment number 1 is Diablo Immortal. I don't really have anything else to say about it that Drew didn't already say. So we'll leave it at that. But yeah, that game was very disappointing to me. Disappointment number 2, and I'm so glad that some people had this on their best of list, and I'm glad that people are enjoying it. But High on Life is on my disappointments list. If I wanted to play a subpar Halo game that wasn't very funny, I would have just played Halo Infinite again. No, I'm just kidding. I liked Halo Infinite, but that just seemed like a joke that was easy to make. Yeah, so High on Life for me probably wouldn't have been on the disappointment list, despite the fact that I wasn't super into it, if I didn't twice run into game-breaking or nearly game-breaking bugs during boss fights. The last time, a game-breaking bug that would have required me to restart the boss fight after I had finished killing the boss. And I'm just not going to put up with that, especially in a game that I'm not really liking that much. So, yeah, I put that away. Was only able to get about halfway through it because of that. So it goes on the list as a disappointment, although I'm glad, like I said, other people have enjoyed it. All right. So honorable mentions in no particular order here. Pokemon Legends Arceus. We mentioned that a little bit, but that, believe it or not, was my first Pokemon game that I played for me. I've played Pokemon in the past with my son, but never played an actual Pokemon game for me, and enjoyed it quite a bit. So that goes on the list. Proteus was also on my list. We talked about that a little bit, and I'm sure it'll be on Ken's list, so I'll let him talk more about it. But that game was a really fun Doom clone, and I'm glad that games like that are still getting made. Let's see. Also on my list for honorable mentions, so I'm going to put this on here, and it's going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to put it on there anyway because I want to, and it's my list. I'm going to say that Cyberpunk is an honorable mention for me this year because the next gen version came out, and everyone should play the next gen version if you have a next gen console. If you have held off playing that game because you were afraid of all the issues that you've heard about it, if you have a next gen console, play that game because it's freaking awesome. All right. Also on my honorable mentions list is Power Wash Simulator, which in most years probably would have made it onto the actual list, but I just had too much stuff that I wanted to go on the actual list for that one to make it. But I loved that game. I've played, like Ken, quite a bit of that game, and it's a nice, as everyone else has said, kind of chill and just let your mind breathe for a little bit game. So a game that is on my list that I am incredibly surprised that nobody else has said yet is Cult of the Lamb.
Mm.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Oh
That
my fucking
game-
god, I forgot about Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, so that game is really good.
Yeah.
And if I had played more of it, it may have made its way onto my list, but I got distracted with other stuff. I need to eventually go back to it. But
Damn.
it's got a really nice loop in terms of procedurally generated, Zelda clone kind of stuff that you go in and fight enemies and then you're building your cult, obviously. So there's the camp building and follower building mechanics in the game too. Game's a lot of fun and one that I definitely want to go back to and dig a little deeper into this year. Another game that won't be on anybody else's list, but it's on mine for a very specific reason as an honorable mention is Goat Simulator 3. That game is pure chaos, and it is an incredibly fun game, especially if you're playing it co-op with someone in the same room, just to go around doing chaotic things both to each other and to the environment and to the various people that you see in the environment. Also has the benefit of being genuinely funny, and has a very funny final boss fight as well, that plays into the rest of the sort of theme of the overall game, and also has a really funny intro as well. So yeah, Go Simulator 3 is a blast, especially if you have somebody to play local co-op with. And then two games that probably also would have made their way onto my list with just a little more time. One of them is Chained Echoes. Jay talked about it already, but yeah, the combat in that game is a blast. I also enjoy the story, and the art style's phenomenal. It looks beautiful. I've talked about that game quite a bit on the podcast over the last couple of weeks, so I won't beat it to death. But yeah, that game is a lot of fun and on Game Pass. So if you haven't played it yet, you should definitely go do that. And then the other game, the last game on my honorable mentions list, is Dragon Quest Treasures, which I'm in the process of reviewing and should have a review done here very soon. It's kind of meant for kids. So if you're going into the game expecting it to be like a full grown-up Dragon Quest, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go into it for what it is, which is, a kid's game where you collect monsters and add them to your team and find treasure and, fight more powerful monsters and add them to your team and collect treasure, it's a blast. The loop is really good. The monsters are a lot of fun. It's got a nice sort of mechanic where different monsters give you a chance to find different types of treasure. So composition of your team is important, not just for like battles, but also for what types of treasure you can find when you're in the map. It also has some neat mechanics in the actual gameplay too. Some of the attacks from the different monsters are good, and then it's got this little sort of treasure hunt mechanic where when you get close, you get sort of a prompt, and your character will receive visions from the monsters that are on your team, showing you where the treasure is, basically in a picture. So you get a picture of the environment. But it's neat because depending on the monsters that you have on your team, the view that you get of the vision is different. So like some of the like goopy hand monsters. The vision you get looks like it's covered in dirt. Or if you've got a monster that has a hood on, you'll see just basically the two eye holes of the environment. So it's got a neat little mechanic that way. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I recommend that game a lot. All right, on to the top 10. So number 10 is Splatoon 3.
Hmm.
I forgot about that game too.
Yeah, so Splatoon had already sort of perfected the short time limit multiplayer, sort of trying to think of the way to put it. You got 3 minutes. Try to cover as much ground and paint as you can. It's chaos. There's people everywhere, and it's so bite size, and you can move map to map pretty quickly, or battle to battle pretty quickly. They had perfected that already, and actually the Wii U game was really good. They sort of refined it a little bit with the second one, and they spent this one refining the single player, and so this one has a full, large hub map style single player in it with all the levels are platforming and puzzle style levels, with some combat, of course, but they're mostly focused on the platforming and the puzzles. And that really just puts it over top for the first two games, which I already really enjoyed. So definitely Splatoon 3, great multiplayer game. And, an example of Nintendo launching a new IP within the last, 5 or 6 years that has turned out to be a success. So it's nice to see a Nintendo game that's as good as this one is, that's not, Mario, Zelda, F-Zero, Metroid,
What are you
pick
talking
from the
about?
list.
They
Right?
did ARMS.
Yeah. We don't talk about ARMS. Although I actually liked ARMS, but
We
don't
don't
talk
talk about ARMS. Sounds like a movie about a game that's ruined a family's life.
yeah. It's also commonly heard in snake households. Anyway, the number 9 is TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I won't talk about that one much because everybody else has already talked about it. But the one thing I'll say is playing this game makes me really want a crossover with the Battletoads. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. Rogue Legacy 2 is number 8. Again, that's been on most people's lists, so I won't beat it to death. But I loved the first game, and it was probably my most played game on the Vita. And so the second game is more of an already excellent game. So well worth checking out if you haven't checked it out yet. Number 7, and there may be a little controversy here, but it's a combined number 7. It's Vampire Survivors and Survivor IO. I had to combine them both. So Vampire Survivors, obviously, as Jay mentioned, sort of kicked off the genre. It's a great game, and it's got its own place sort of in my heart, separate from Survivor IO. Normally, I wouldn't put a free-to-play mobile game on my Game of the Year list, but I'm putting this one on there because there has been no game that I have played over the last 4 months more than that one. It's sort of dominated a lot of my casual free time, and it's a tremendous clone. I think it's funny describing that as a clone because the people who made Survivor IO are the same people who made Archero, which is the game that Vampire Survivors devs have said inspired them to make Vampire Survivors in the first place. So they're sort of copying off each other, I guess, which is nice. But yeah, both of those games are amazing. Vampire Survivors also out on mobile now and is free to play. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you can play it for free on your phone. So yeah. Number 6 is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Again, I won't beat this one to death because Anthony talked about it already, but that game is a really, really good Kirby game. And I was a little concerned about the move to 3D, and they pulled it off perfectly. It plays awesome. It looks awesome. It's got some neat new mechanics in it, and yeah, my son and I had a blast with that game this year. Number 5 for me is Infernax. That game was awesome, and that game. I played and finished that game while recovering from shoulder surgery, and it was exactly what I needed. So it's deep, even though it's just sort of a side-scrolling Castlevania-like, Shovel Knight-like game. But it's got, as I mentioned, a ton of different branching paths. It's got a complete optional storyline, including an optional, very difficult final boss. It's got up the perfect amount of cartoony 2D gore in it, and the story is actually pretty fun too. So I'm really anticipating a sequel to that game, and I hope one gets to get made. So that also, I believe, is still on Game Pass. So if you haven't played it, definitely check it out. Number 4 is a game that I'm a little surprised that Terrence didn't have on his list, but I guess I kind of understand. And that's Chivalry 2.
Oh my god, I forgot about Chivalry 2.
Yeah, so the multiplayer game for me this year, and I played the absolute shit out of it, and loved every minute of it. So, and it's still, I'll go back to it on occasion. I've actually had some other stuff to play recently, but so I haven't had as much of a chance to go back to it. But I am over the moon about that game. I love the first one, and so I was really hoping that the sequel would sort of improve on everything that the first one did, and it did. And the objectives are fun. The minute-to-minute gameplay is fun. The controls are great. It's just a really awesome game. So Chivalry 2 also on Game Pass if you have any interest in checking it out.
The voice lines are awesome. Yeah, that game is great.
Lines are awesome.
That game is so funny. Yeah.
Chivalry 2 is the game I wish we all would have played all year instead of you guys playing Overwatch and then putting it on your disappointments list. But anyway, so now we're at my top 3, and number 1 has been solidified for a long time, but number 2 and 3, I've made, I don't know, 6 different versions of this list, swapping these 2 back and forth. And so it either could be at any given time in my mind ahead of the other one. One of them absolutely beats the other one out in my mind in storytelling, and the other one wins in gameplay. And so I kept going back and forth, but I decided to make the number 2 one, the one that I had the most gameplay fun with and spent the most time with, since this is a Game of the Year list and not a Story of the Year list. But again, it could get switched at any given time. So number 3 for me was God of War Ragnarok. And that game, as Jay already mentioned, was powerful. The story and the character performances and just sort of the emotional pull of that game is it's going to be hard for something else to replicate it. And so I'm really looking forward to where they go next with that series. And I was captivated the entire time that I played that game with not just the big story moments, but all the little interactions between whoever you're venturing out with in the world, all the different characters that you run into over the course of the game. As Jay already mentioned, it has a really interesting take on the Asgardians and sort of their dynamic that, while sort of new and fresh, also dovetails nicely with the mythology behind it. So I respect both sort of the God of War's take on the Asgardians and Assassin's Creed Valhalla's take on it last year, or year before last now. But yeah, that the character portrayals of Odin and Thor and Sif and all the other Asgardians was really great. So I love the game a lot. I just didn't like the minute-to-minute gameplay of it as much as I like the next game on the list. And so number 2 on the list for me is Horizon Forbidden West. And I, unlike Anthony, really loved fighting all the different monsters, especially the new ones, and finding their different weak points and figuring out what different arrow or ammunition types or weapons would do the best job at knocking off which specific parts. It's got the mechanic that I loved from the first game where you can't just kill stuff when you see it. If you want to get the best stuff, you have to actually cut specific parts off of the monsters to be able to unlock some of the stronger stuff that you can get. And most of the cool stuff that you need can only be knocked off the monster while it's alive. So you can't just kill it and then loot the stuff you need. You have to, knock off a specific part on its tail or knock off a specific part on its back or, knock out its throat or something, depending on the monster, to unlock the best upgrades. And I love that mechanic in this one, just like I loved it in the first one. Story is also really, really good, and I love the sort of BioWare style story that they've crafted here, where you have companions that you gather as you move through the course of the story, and then you have a hub base where you can talk to them and do quests for them and increase your relationship with them, and ultimately get some really cool resolutions to each one of those side character stories, building up, of course, to the final battle. The game definitely goes places, and the end, I know, is a little bit controversial, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to see where they go from here. It's another game where it had some very human moments in it for a game about fighting robot dinosaurs. So and I've spent 80 some hours playing that game and never got bored. So really, really phenomenal. Can't wait for the next game in the series. The first one was my game of the year. This one got beat out for that, but it was definitely worthy of the number 2 spot on the list.
You won't have to wait long to get more Horizon because you'll be replaying the remaster of a 2017 game next year.
I will not. I will not. But we are getting DLC, so I'm excited for that.
Yep. As long as you got a PS5.
And I do. So, number 1, it's probably not a surprise at this point, is Elden Ring. Man, it's been a long time since a game has grabbed a hold of me the way Elden Ring did. And probably since Skyrim came out the first time. I mean, to the point where Elden Ring monopolized my thought. Like I was thinking about Elden Ring when I wasn't playing Elden Ring, and reading about Elden Ring and what different strategies and what different equipment and what different items and stuff I could find in the world that would help me with the next boss fight that I had to take down. And the gameplay being as tight as it was, combined with it being an open world RPG, which, as everybody knows, is my favorite genre, was enough to make it sort of not just my game of the year, but really a dominating force in games for me in the last 10 years. The other thing that was nice is it was a really good bonding for my son and I. We both were playing Elden Ring separately, and talking to him about what he had found or what I had found or what boss he had beaten or what strategy he had used to kill a certain enemy. There was a lot of Elden Ring conversation in this house for several months, and still continues to this day because my son just finished it for the third time. So,
Did you ever have him come in your game and help you defeat a boss?
no, I never did any co-op at all.
I never had my son do that for me either. Actually, I was
Yeah.
just wondering if you did.
You
No, I'm
lying
kidding. I
son
totally
of a
had my
bitch.
I had my
No.
son help out a lot. Lord.
No, he and I never played co-op together. He plays co-op sometimes with his friends. But he and I never played co-op together. I don't look at it as a I know it is, but I don't necessarily look at it as a co-op game, right? So for me it was a single player game, and the Ashes of War were what sort of allowed it to be somewhat of a co-op game for me. Or
Gotcha.
is it the Ashes of War? And what are they
The
called?
summons? You talking about the
Yeah.
summons that you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that game was tremendously amazing, and I'm looking forward to some additional single player content on that game as well down the line. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
All right. There's only one left. And somehow there are 4 games on my list that nobody's mentioned yet.
I'm
Nice.
curious.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't know what your number 1 is, Ken.
So I have 1 in disappointments nobody's mentioned, 2 in honorable mentions that nobody's mentioned, and 1 in the top 10 list that nobody's mentioned.
Oh.
We'll
I
start
should have made my honorable list longer.
I don't think you would have hit the 2 on mine. I don't think.
All
you would.
right, we'll see. We'll see. I'll let you know.
All right. So disappointments. Saints Row. That we've talked enough about that game. I was super disappointed with that game. Overwatch 2. We've joked a lot about that game. Yes, still my disappointments, but that's only because it's worse than the first game somehow. Horizon Forbidden West. Anthony and I had a discussion about this the other day. I'm really getting tired of Sony's template. Their games are very high quality. They're very well produced. They're very good video games. But goddamn, I just feel like they're just paint by numbers at this point. Like everything in them feels the same. And Horizon drove that home to me. That game is good. I think I gave that game an 8. That game is very good. I just got so bored playing it because it is just the same thing over and over and over again. And it was just super because I love the first one. And I think what drove the first one home was that it wasn't as much of the monotony, and the story was much better paced than the second one, at least for me.
My thing is like, it's all serious, and that's fine. I'm fine with serious stories, but it's just like, I almost can be like, all right, well, here's where the next big serious moment's gonna happen. I don't know. That's just a little weird to me, but while they're all very different games, all of them, all of the Sony's first-party stuff, they feel of the same make. Like, I play God of War, and it feels like it's only a step away from Horizon, or Last of Us or whatever, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, in comparison to Microsoft's output, which is
What? There's no such thing.
yeah, it's just like I'm waiting for the thing where I'm waiting for them to just do something, I don't know, different again.
Yeah, I would really. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm always like, I wish they'd bring back, I don't know, Parappa or Jack and Daxter or something like that. Like when Ratchet and Clank got re-released, I was like, yes, okay, I'm excited for this. But even that felt like it was moving more towards.
They were leaned into the very serious nature of it, which is
and I'm just like, man,
not where that series is supposed to be. And I don't necessarily know. I'm just gonna say it now. I don't necessarily know what I want from them, but I'm this doesn't interest me. That's all.
Yeah.
It's the reason why I don't feel like I needed to go play God of War. I liked the first game, and I was like, cool, I'm glad this story ends, but I'm like, I also don't have any rush to do it. Even Spider-Man. I love the first Spider-Man. I think it's one of the best Spider-Man stories, but it's like, do I need another one? No.
Yeah. And then my last disappointment, I
don't
don't
even know how
think-
y'all and I are friends anymore, if I'm being honest.
Well, you know what? Here's the way I'll put this. When everything has the same tonal arc, it doesn't feel interesting.
Yeah, you and I disagree on each one of those games having the same tonal arc, but that's not this podcast.
All right. I don't know if this happened, or like if anybody mentioned this while I was away or anything, but one game I have not heard anybody talk about, it is on my disappointments list, the Callisto Protocol.
I just haven't played it after I heard you talk shit about it.
Like,
It's on my list, but I didn't say it because I
Okay.
couldn't remember if my review went live or.
yeah, that game should have been amazing, and man, it just felt rough from beginning to end. Like I didn't care for the combat, I didn't care for the story. Visually, it's stunning, but
Oh yeah.
like everything else about it, I'm just like I didn't even finish it. Like I fell off that game so hard, and now we're so close to the Dead Space remake that I may never go back to the Callisto Protocol.
Best game was Josh Jamel. Best you can say.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
sure. All right, honorable mentions. We've talked about it a lot, but Infernax, that game is amazing. If you haven't played it, you should go play it. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, we've talked a lot about that game. I need to finish that game. If I'd have played it more, maybe it'd have made my list, but I didn't. So it's just an honorable mention. Stranger of Paradise, we talked about that game. Amazing game. All right, now I got two honorable mentions that nobody has talked about yet. The first one I don't think anybody even remembers came out or even cared, except maybe Jay. King of Fighters 15 came out this year.
Oh, I remember that game, but I don't know, man.
It wasn't as good as 14.
gravitate towards me.
It wasn't as good as 14 in any respect, and it surely wasn't as good as 13. But it felt good for KOF to finally come back and not just be on the Sony console, so it felt good to have it everywhere. I did like some of the new characters. The DLC model is bad, like it's overpriced, and the characters are not very interesting, but I still like that game. And another game I know that you played, Jay, you didn't like nearly as much as I did, was Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah.
I like the game. It is very paint by numbers, open world, but I like the world is what I like.
Yeah. The atmosphere is good, the immersion's there. I just wish the story and, it wasn't so open worldly, just like a generic thing.
It is definitely the Assassin's Creed of Japanese horror games.
It is.
But
That's
I still
one I
enjoyed
definitely
it.
want to play. I want to play that when it comes to Game Pass.
Yeah, it'll be out in March, and I like that game, but you really need to go. And Jay and I talked about this when it came out, dude. It feels like it goes and goes and goes, and all of a sudden it's like, fuck it, it's over. And like the ending to that game is so abrupt that it just blew my mind. I'm like, wow, it's over? Oh shit. Anyway, moving into the top 10. Terrence, you were incorrect. Gotham Knights is number 10 on my list. I like that game.
Oh.
I do.
Oh, shoot.
It's beautiful. The story is amazing. The combat is fantastic. I do wish it was 60 FPS, and that's probably why I haven't finished it, is like I'm holding out maybe that they'll give us a patch at some point. But I did put about 12 to 15 hours in that game, and I loved it. Thought it was great. Number 9 is Tunic, another game that I think has only come up once or twice so far.
It's me.
Yeah,
just me.
I really like that game.
That game's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it was one of those games where I wasn't frustrated at the fact that it didn't tell me everything because the discoverability was just so well done.
Yeah. And then there's a point to that. Like when you learn a bit more about that game, you learn that you can do other things.
Yeah.
And it expands your exploration that way.
I remember the first time I discovered you could level up your powers at a save spot because it never mentioned that.
It doesn't tell you that at all.
I was like, holy shit, I can upgrade my attack? Whoa! I don't know if y'all ready for this. Number 8 is Overwatch 2.
No, mine was number 7.
Mine's lower than yours.
I know.
That's crazy. I hope that game gets better.
in a different world and in a different time, Overwatch 2 should have been both of our game of the year.
Oh, 100%. I anticipated it being it as soon as I realized, oh, that's actually a different game. It's definitely going to be my number one. And then I'm going to be real honest with you. I told my wife last night, I was like, if we all weren't playing together, I wouldn't be playing it.
No, that's the thing. Is like you will not find me play that game solo.
But for me, that's crazy because I stuck through the entire 6 years.
I mean, I almost did. I stopped in the last year.
I never stopped playing that game. But right now, if y'all ain't playing, I ain't playing.
I ain't playing that game.
Number 7, Power Wash Simulator. We've talked enough about that game, but I can't believe that I have a simulator game on my list. That's crazy to me.
2 years in a row for me.
Number 6, High on Life. I think that game is fantastic. I loved it from start to finish. I thought it was hilarious. And like Anthony, it's the best Metroid Prime game we've had in I couldn't tell you how long. Which is crazy, because, Nintendo could have put out Metroid Prime Remaster this year, but no, they wanted somebody to cut their hair off.
Because it doesn't exist.
Shh, be quiet. Number 5, Anthony and I, brothers again, Tinykin. Y'all motherfuckers need to play this game. It's so good.
It's on my list.
It's on the play later list.
Oh, it's so good. It's not even that long. What did it take you to finish it? I think it took me like 6-7 hours to finish that game.
I mean, I did a lot in that game, and I still didn't get everything.
Yeah. That
But,
game is...
yeah, it's under 10.
Oh, I love that game. Number 4 is God of War Ragnarok. I like this game a lot, but I think I like this game a lot less than most people. I had a lot of issues with its pacing. I had a lot of issues with its weird, like, we're going to extend the life of this game by showing you a box and having you go to this box through this weird animation thing. No spoilers, obviously, but I don't like some of the stuff it introduces. But nobody will argue that the ending of that game and the storytelling in this game are second to none. The final sequence of that game might be one of the most epic things I've ever seen. And like Ryan said earlier, Sindri's arc in that game is unparalleled. Like it's amazing.
Everybody talked, like, and I had 2 people talk about how they wanted to play this game because they didn't want to get spoiled on it. Honestly, I have not even seen much gameplay footage of this game. Like, I have not played it. I'm going to play it eventually one day, but I don't think I'll ever get spoiled on it.
So I looked up the actor who plays Sindri, and I didn't realize he is Roy Earl in L.A. Noire, the other detective you play.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he doesn't have too many game roles. It's L.A. Noire, Fearless Fantasy, Battlefield Hardline, and then the 2 God of War games.
Yeah. God of War Ragnarok is an amazing video game. And Drew, if you've seen gameplay of the first game, you've seen this game feels a lot like the first game. It does.
Yeah.
But it's
but I have not seen anything as far as story goes. I don't know anything about this game.
Wow. I think my biggest issue with the story, it's not the presentation or the way it's done. It's the fact that the first game was interesting because we'd had that built up of Kratos of who he was in, the Greek mythology, and him being in a different mythology was interesting. In the second game, it's not as impactful because he's already there. But his growth as a father is the most interesting part of that second game. Number 3, what the fuck is a Souls game doing on my list? This Elden Ring is at number 3.
There you go.
That game...
We're going to get a roguelike in your top 10.
Elden Ring. Dude, Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild are how open world games should be done. Like, the sheer...
You can keep your weapons in Elden Ring.
Yes, okay. You and your fucking weapon degradation. No,
I had to do it.
Wait,
but
don't
thing...
weapons degrade in Elden Ring as well?
No, they don't.
No.
Really? They took that out? That was in Dark Souls series.
Yeah, but this game and Breath of... Like, people... I think sometimes it's funny that people argue that these games aren't similar, but the thing that makes Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring interesting is the discoverability of that world. Like Ryan was saying, everywhere you go is interesting, and everything you find is interesting and fun. And it's just like No other game does that.
I said before, and I'll say again, it's been, I can't think, Skyrim is the best comparison I can give, where the game feels like going on an adventure.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma is another great example of that.
Yeah.
Where every time I would sit down to play it, it would be like, okay, what am I doing today? I'm going to go to this place to find this piece of armor because I know that piece of armor is strong against holy, and this boss that I have to fight does holy damage, so I need to get that armor before I fight this boss. And then you just go.
All right, now
And
let me
it
ask you
feels
this.
like an adventure.
The way you just said that, how did you know that piece of armor was good against holy?
Oh, that mostly for me was facts and reading online.
See, I don't want to go through a fact when I'm playing through a brand new game. You know what I mean?
But
Like,
you don't have to in this game. And
You don't
what,
have to, for
yeah,
sure.
what Ryan's talking about with that is if you want to min-max, then you do that.
Yeah.
But if you
Yeah.
just want to explore, this game is phenomenal. Like, you can just get on your horse once you get the horse, and you can get on and you can ride anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and what I'm describing, Drew, is probably it's a very specific scenario. Most of the stuff I found that I used against the various bosses and various scenarios that were around the world, I just found it. Like I found someplace interesting to go, went there, and found something that was very useful. It's a very specific scenario where it's like, okay, I'm going to look for this specific artifact. So it's not, the entire game's not like that. As Ken mentioned, there's a lot of just like stuff you discover exploring.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I spent
maybe one day I will play this game.
I spent 3 hours just getting on my horse and just riding to see where it took me, to see what the world. And the thing is like, that fear you have of like getting killed and losing everything. There are so many checkpoints in this game that like every 2 or 3 minutes that you ride, you find a checkpoint. Just hit it, and you're good. And it's just like it rewards exploration so well.
It does, for sure.
I mean, it's a good game. You just romanticizing it. Y'all acting like where you riding around and enjoying the scenery, a dragon don't show up and knock the fuck out of you. Like
Yeah,
that
but
happens to me all
that's
the time.
awesome when
I'm
it
riding,
happens, though.
and I'm like,
Part of
oh
the
man,
adventure.
that's super cool. And something, a ballista came from somewhere and
Terrence,
one-shot me.
I
And
say
I'm like,
this.
"What?"
I say this in the nicest way possible, but you also get hit by like every Anna sleep dart, so maybe it's a you problem.
You know what? You right. Yeah, it is me problem. Let me back
It's,
it up. You right.
no,
Carry on, sir.
So I agree with you, Terrence. It's not a casual exploration game, but that contributes to the feeling of adventure from my standpoint. Like,
Oh yeah, I
knowing
get it. I was
that-
just being funny. Yeah.
knowing that if I go down in a hole, there's a chance I ain't coming back out.
Yep.
Is part of the adventure.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Number 2 is Shredder's Revenge.
Oh, so close.
So close, yet so far away. That game, phenomenal, amazing. Now, my number 1 game is not on anybody else's list.
I don't know what this
If
is.
you fucking
It's
say
dust.
some,
I know what it is.
Was Dusk this year? No, Dusk
No.
wasn't this year. I don't know what number 1 is for you. Huh.
The Atari 50th Anniversary
yeah,
Collection.
there we go.
Oh, I
fucking
forgot
serious?
about that.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
I have never seen a game take a collection of classics, mix it in with a documentary, and make it interactive the way that this thing is. Nothing will ever match it, and every classic compilation going forward that doesn't hit it will feel like a disappointment in some respect.
So what if you don't have any... Like, I didn't play the Atari games when I was a kid. So
Even if you don't have the nostalgia, just hearing these stories, like, think about a really good documentary about something that you're interested in. Maybe you didn't have the nostalgia for Atari, but learning how video games started is an amazing thing.
Okay.
And hearing the conversation, like they actually pulled the people in who were there, the people that are still alive. And hearing, just give you one snippet, because I don't want to spoil it if you ever play it, because it's amazing. But there's a whole sequence where the guys who created the original 2600 were like, what do you do after? Like, what happens next? They'd never been through a console cycle. This was the first one. So, like, them trying to figure out how do you follow up a video game console? And just hearing the stories, and then obviously, you know, like, oh, we were all smoking weed, and then they'd pan to another guy, he's like, I never smoked weed. You know, it's just it's just these conversations there. And the way the timeline works of going down through and being able to play the game when they're talking about the game, and the fact that the developers went back in and finished things. So, like, if you remember the Quest series, they never finished it. It was like a contest. Well, Digital Eclipse actually went back in and finished the 4th game, and now you can play it. And that's crazy.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is this a retail release, or is this like a
yeah, they gave
download
it.
only?
There's disc versions. It's also available digitally. It is expensive. I think it's $50, but it's worth every penny. It's the only game that came out this year, I believe, that I gave a 10 out of 10 to. And I
Okay.
stand behind it. I love it. It's my favorite thing I played this year.
Okay.
So there you go. That's my list. That's everybody's list. We do have some emails of people's lists. I will read those next week, as well as a few tweets. I know everybody's probably needing to get out of here because this show is now 3 hours long.
Yep.
But no, this is fun. It's been good. I got some games to go back and play. 'Cause,
Yeah, I'm gonna buy, I think, like 2 games. You bastards.
Yeah, it happens every year.
Out of all the things that I mentioned, I just do want to say, like, seriously, everybody here should play the Chant. I think that is the one that I really want to push to people.
Next gen only.
Yeah,
I believe.
Anthony can't play it.
Yeah, it is next gen only. It may be on PC. I'm not sure.
It is on PC. Yeah.
Okay.
That game is interesting. I don't know if it's $50. Is it $50?
I don't think so. I thought it was 30. It might be $40. I
Okay.
can't
Is it
remember.
not on Game Pass?
I mean,
No,
No,
the
it's not on
Chant's
Game
not
Pass.
on Game Pass. No.
It's probably 40.
$40 on PC.
I think it's $25-$30 interesting. I don't think it's
Yeah.
$40 interesting. It is an interesting. It's very like there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
So I will agree with that, but I feel like it's not quite $40. Like spending $40 on a game that you might not like.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely interesting. It's something I haven't seen done, and it has some really good atmosphere. I'll put it that way. But yeah, definitely wait. If you want to wait for a sale, but definitely give that a shot. Anybody here who likes the horror games, like the cosmic horror games, will really like this.
And also another thing to take away from this: get your ass on Game Pass and play Infernax and Tinykin right now.
And Vampire Survivor, seeing as how everybody, I think, mentioned it at some point in time.
And Rogue
did
Legacy
not.
Ken.
too.
I did not. I like that game. I think it's cool, but it's not on my big list of the year. But no, it is cool, and it's on Game Pass too. So yeah, let's go play that.
Garlic, man. Garlic.
Anthony's having PTSD from Vampire Survivors at 3 o'clock. in
Dude,
the
the
morning.
garlic breaks that game pretty well, and it's just like, why would I choose anything else?
Garlic's a newbie trap, Anthony. You'll learn.
Oh yeah, because the books is where you go. You get the books upgraded, and just all going downhill. Just end up being Vampire Survivors for another 40 minutes.
I think the best thing to take out of this 3-hour show is to say that all these fuckers out there who were like, nothing came out in 2022, y'all fucking crazy.
Exactly.
This was a
I mean,
great year
wow.
for games, even if 2023, if everything makes it out, holy shit. That's all I'm going to say is holy shit.
Yeah. I'm really only excited for Zelda.
Oh, man.
Dude, there's so much coming out.
Street
Yeah,
Fighter.
Yeah, but
this
like
will be
next gen.
impossible for this year. Like if everything comes out, there's so
Spider-Man
much
2,
stuff.
Starfield.
Redfall, fucking... Sony's got another game, right? What's the other game we got?
I don't think.
Well, they got VR stuff. Like,
Well,
Oh,
yeah, and they've
yeah.
got like
Spider-Man.
expansion content for Horizon, but
yeah,
Spider-Man's the big one.
You know Nintendo's going to have something besides Zelda. They have to.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Man.
Street Fighter, Diablo, probably Mortal Kombat's coming out this year.
No.
They just had an anniversary, so they get to take a break for a couple of years from.
Oh, man,
big
fuck
games.
off. If we didn't get nothing for the anniversary and then we don't even get a game this year, fuck off.
You get a mobile game. You just
No, I
because you
said
don't
a
count
video
it, don't mean
game.
they not making it.
No.
Like it's.
No, I want a real video game. I don't want this fucking phone shit.
Vampire Survivors is a real video game, also on mobile.
Finally, it wasn't at first.
You're
It
right.
wasn't.
Well,
Yeah, I
what-
just read. Was it Terrence? Did you post an article about the development of that?
I think I did. Like that developer put the.
Yeah, they had to rush the mobile version because there were
Yep.
so many, not just like games that are in the
Imitators.
same vein, but like actual copies popping up
Yeah.
where they basically just ripped off all the assets. So
Oh, like they
and-
ripped off the
Jay-
Castlevania assets?
yeah,
They're
I
not.
mean-
They're not. From my understanding, that they're like bought assets that somebody made, and that person made a lot of.
I know, but
Castlevania
that shit is
stuff.
so close
Also,
that come on.
there's also a character in there that very much looks like Bayonetta. So
Yep,
And yeah, it plays like Bayonetta too.
she's on the cover. Like that picture is for Bayonetta 2. Love that.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, Jay, what was the PC clone of that you were talking up there for a while?
Soulstone Survivors and
That's it.
I think 20 Minutes to Dawn. Those are both great.
Soulstone Survivors is the one I was thinking of. I think I need to check that out at some point.
That one is good because when you get to a certain point in Vampire Survivors, you just can't see the screen because it's just weapons flying
Yes.
around everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Soulstone, they allow you to change the levels of the opacity so that you can actually see your surroundings while your weapon's still going off, which I think is a feature of Vampire Survivor really needs.
Yep. So that is all for 2022. We'll be back next week with a regular show, but it's been a good year. Thank you all for sticking around for 3 hours if you're still here. And also next week, I forgot, we do have a code for Horizon Forbidden West. We'll be giving away to somebody next week.
Nice.
Woo!
So, but anyway, that's it for the show. Unless there's anything else, we'll get out of here. Peace, bitch.
Alrighty. And it goes something like this.
Epic fail. Welcome to the N4G podcast. Zero tolerance.
This is going to be a very interesting episode.
Gather time.
Greetings, programs. I got lost trying to find my way to the secret underground N4G radio lair.
The Wombat. And
I've always been being angry.
Killer Wolverine. Play games, not consoles. No fanboys allowed.
And then I killed the dragon. 8.0.
Killed the dragon.